city fair rode I. Their armored lines of marching men in squadrons they passed me by. No fife did hum, no battle drum did sound its dread tattoo, but the Angelus bells o'er the Liffey swells rang out through the foggy dew. Right proudly high over Dublin town they hang other flags of war. It was better to die neath the Irish sky than at Sublar Saddlebar. And from the plains of royal mead strong men came hurrying through, while Britannia's Huns with their long-range guns sailed in through the foggy dew. 'Twas Britannia bade our wild geese hope that small nations might be free, but their lonely graves are neath Subla's waves, are the shores of the great North Sea. Oh, had they died by Pierce's side, or fought with Carl Brew, their names we'd keep where the Fenians sleep, beneath the shroud of the foggy dew. But the bravest fell, and the requiem bell rang mournfully and clear for those who died that Easter tide in the springtime of the year. And the world did gaze with deep amaze at those men. They were fearless but few, who bought the fight that freedom's light might shine through the foggy dew. Oh, as down the glen one Easter morn to a city fair rode I. Their armored men of marching lines in squadrons they passed me by. No fife did hum, no battle drum did sound its dread tattoo, but the Angelus bells o'er the Liffey swells rang out through the foggy dew. But the Angelus bells o'er the Liffey swells rang out unto the foggy dew. start it again. All right, that was it. Yeah. Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now. Well, you're a hard one. You got your reasons. These things that are pleasing you can hurt you somehow. Don't you draw the queen of diamonds, boy. She'll beat you if she's able. No, the queen of hearts is always your best bet. Now it seems to me some fine things have been laid upon your table, but you only want the things that you can't get. Desperado, no, you ain't getting no younger. Your pain and your hunger keep on driving you home. Well, freedom, yeah, freedom, it's just some people talking. Your prison is walking to this world all alone. Don't your feet get cold in the wintertime? The sky won't snow and the sun won't shine when it's hard to tell the nighttime from the day. When you're losing all your highs and lows, and it's funny how the feeling goes away. Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? Come down from your fences and open the gate. It may be raining, but there is a rainbow above you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you before it's too late. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you before it's too late. Oh gosh. How you doing? Greetings again. How you doing? Oh, I hope that didn't come across as quite as bad as it sounded. Anyway, I haven't played that song in ages, so I just thought about it today. Great song. But yeah, I'm sure it didn't come across too good. But don't worry about that. The first song was Foggy Jew. Just going through the lyrics again. It's all about the Irish 1916 rising and sort of bigging that up, you know. World War I was going on at the same time, apparently. So you had the choice to go fighting in Europe or fighting in the Middle East, you know, and Turkey, or else stay at home and fight for the cause in Ireland. And a lot of people sort of split down the middle. And yeah, but again, coming to where I am now, everything associated with 1916, all insiders, all connected people, all the 7 signatories or whatever. No, it's all nonsense. It's all rubbish. Doesn't apply to any of us. It's all steeped in fakery and fraudulency. Your country is a corporation, and this is all fabrication. So yeah, I kind of went a bit high there. Maybe I should. I knew that was a high one at the end, though. I could have reached that now at better times, I guess, but wasn't working quite today. It's a tough one, though. Where does it go? You better. So if I started lower, you better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you before it's too late. So that would have been a more appropriate key. Oh, what's that actually? C, wasn't it? You better let some. Yeah, I should have done it in C, so it would have been desperado. Why don't you come to your senses? Come down from your fences, man. What's the next cue? Open the gate, open the gate. Oh yeah, D7 to G7. So come down from your fences and open the gate. It may be raining, but there is a rainbow above you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you before it's too late. That would have been much smoother and sweeter. What do you reckon? But you're not to worry. Not to worry. It's just expelled air, isn't it, in a certain formulation or fashion. So let me get rid of that. The Foggy Dew, yeah, which was the opener. Anyone who's, it's a great song. Just type in. Any number of artists have, or artists, whatever, you know, have covered it. So maybe the Pogues do a good version. Sinead O'Connor does a great version of the Foggy Dew. Yeah, a great song again, but everything that it applies to now. Just setting a picture for us of history is sort of a corroboration, you know, of the official lie. And this is what comes down in all of these different types of, so not all of these different types of songs, but certainly the later ones anyway. Yeah. So type that into YouTube if you're interested in hearing a proper version of it. And I say greetings. Back again for more. How you doing? I think everything is coming through okay. In hearing a proper version. Okay, yeah, but a few seconds behind. Okay, so I'm going to expect a little bit of ridicule, but that's fine as well, isn't it? Yeah, the second one was better. What do you reckon? Mark Sargent Balls. Yeah, I made an arse of the first one. I sang it in D instead of C, which would have been more suitable for, I guess, this, first of all, this time of night. It's 11:21. And certainly from my aging voice, and yeah, how bad? You get used to making a fool of yourself after a while. So after a while, it doesn't really have much. It always has a little bit of a bearing, but it doesn't have much of a bearing after a while. So I'd say greetings again, whoever is listening and whoever might be listening. In a sense, a little bit of a historic night. I'm thinking that. If you listen to the last hangout, yeah, realizations and connections being made. So very happy about that. So I said I'll come back. Maybe. Neil is here again. How you doing, Neil? Just say hello to Dazzer as well. I don't know that character. Or Mrs. Sergeant Flatballs. Mrs. Sergeant Flatballs. So you needed to say that twice. But I'd say how you doing, Neil, again. I think all you have to do to go back is just go back. Yeah, I can go back. So you can go back if you wanted to listen to it. I'm thinking maybe you mightn't want to listen to it that much. I know you're a guitarist yourself. My own guitar isn't great, and to be honest, my voice wasn't great on those numbers there. They didn't sort of flow, you know what I mean. So yeah, not that it means anything to Neil. I'm going to go ahead and wrench you up, man. We'll let bygones be bygones. And again, the way I look at the wrench is, you know, it's just, you know, to be used when absolutely necessary. I suppose, like, you know, we know there's messers thrown in to throw a spanner into the works, a wrench into the works, if you will, and you know, not all of them are unbearable. And again, I suppose once we know that that's the situation, we can sort of learn a bit, I guess, in chat, or maybe have a laugh or something. But the minute the line is crossed, then I'm thinking that they have to go. But yeah, that's my view. Yeah, so I came back on. I ended the last one. I sort of on a good note, because again, in a sense, has the hidden hand been identified tonight? Possibly. I'll be, well, not that I'll be looking. I'll be always on the lookout. But for another explanation associated to the hidden hand, it makes sense to me. If there's a greater riddle going on here, a greater treasure hunt, then the hidden hand wouldn't reference something as mediocre as, like, maybe, let's say, a hidden hand in terms of the power structure. We all sort of know that already. You know, we know that we don't know who's in charge. So the hidden hand would reference some ongoing or long-running a puzzle, or a sort of a mystery, or a riddle, or something like that. And there's no greater riddle than the flat Earth, I'm thinking, you know. So I've already made, just to reiterate what I was, yeah, cool, Neil. You're welcome, man. As again, I have no power to hand out or anything, but we're aware of the situation. Ideally, I would just prefer no wrenches on flat Earth, and everyone be respectful. And but that's not the arena. People are sent in to deliberately stir up shit. And again, we, you know, if we can get, I recognize that is the situation. And I mean, I kind of welcome everyone here, I guess. But like, for instance, Jeremy or Mark Taylor, the minute if they come here and they're respectful or whatever, yeah, they can last somewhat. But we know the true natures of well, we know something about them anyway, so we can make the call. And if they cross the line, well, then they have to go, and they expect as much as any. There's no feelings being hurt here, you know. They know what they're doing. So that's the only reason I place any stead in the wrenches. But other than that, I don't myself. I've never used one, and I don't ever intend to use one. So yeah, just to reiterate about where I came to at the end of the last hangout. And for me, an amazing revelation, an amazing possibility opened up. Absolutely amazing. So it tells me, it doesn't conflict or contradict the current course I'm on, which is starts out. Let me tell you where it starts out. Well, in terms of flat Earth, anyway. So it's all about flat Earth. Flat Earth unravels the mysteries of our whole situation. You know what I mean? And again, flat Earth is just the beginning. Within flat Earth, Mark Sargent came on the scene. Mark Sargent was a prepper. This all sat still. This is only kind of making the connections in the last few months. But Mark Sargent, being a prepper, jumped out at me immediately, and immediately I thought Mark Sargent Prepper, Sergeant Peppers. You know, I knew a bit about Sergeant Pepper because I had investigated the Pole is Dead conspiracy that was thrown right into our faces, front and center. So yeah, I filed that away. Mark Sargent came out with his clues. A clue also is in, as I think journalism mentioned, that a CLEW, which was literally like in the labyrinth from The Shining or something, a literal thread that is left from the center point to the doors. Like it's a sort of yeah, an arrow pointing along the way. And I mentioned earlier on, all flat Earth arrows, all of the actors in flat Earth, be it IPS, Math Powerland, Martin Leedkey, Nathan Oakley, Antonio Surratt, Patricia Steer, deep inside the rabbit hole was a big clue. Again, it's all connecting. So I know I won't be offending any of these people. No matter what I say, I won't be offending any of these people, because they're clues in the greater puzzle, the way I look upon it. I'll never make a judgment against the man or the woman, but if they're actors on the stage and put here to play a part, a role, well, then I'm going to identify them, you know. So, and then there'll be no feathers ruffled, I'm sure, because ultimately maybe this is the point of it all, to make these connections. So anyway, the way I see it, or the way I did see it, this was the major clue: Mark Sargent, Sergeant Peppers, Sergeant Pepper, Sergeant Peppers, Sergeant Peppers. Paul is dead. I was thrown at us as well as a conspiracy. It was handed to us. So there's a deeper picture, but I posted I'm going to post that again for anyone in chat, just in case. I better post a few links again, just in case anyone hasn't, anyone who has an interest but hasn't followed any of the clues or the steps I've been taking. I definitely post the solution to Sergeant Pepper's on the very first page. Again, I read this. I'm definitely due to read this again now, because I haven't read it actually in full in a few years, and I have read a bits and pieces of it, but I don't think I need to go through it too much anymore. It's a clue along the way. So there is the solution to Sergeant Pepper's, and you'll see how fiendishly clever it is. And it's all about word games. It's all about words, spells. It's all about playing on words. Alice in Wonderland tells us that, you know, we have confusion within words. So we're to take certain words and find their phonic equivalent and maybe see how that fits in the context. And there's always clues left, and multiple clues left, especially in Sergeant Pepper. So I've just posted the link in chat there. And Neil, you being from Liverpool, you definitely might appreciate that, man. You're involved, whether you know or not, in a much greater, because you're from Liverpool, and that is all again, Liverpool, liver bird, associated with the dodo bird. The dodo was said to, again, if the dodo is a fictional bird, why would they say it was associated with the Liverpool pigeon? You know, again, Liverpool, homing pigeon, back to Liverpool. That's where the Beatles clue comes in. All sort of fits together. Paul is dead. Paul is dead as a dodo. Paul sang "Fool on the Hill." Look at the fool looking at the sun going down, whatever. As the world spins round. They encoded it into lots of other songs as well. While My Guitar Gently Weeps has a nice little bit of encoding in terms of flat Earth into it, a round globe, fake round Earth. So yeah, anyway, Sergeant Pepper's. On the very first page of Sergeant Pepper's, you have a reference to Edgar Allan Poe and how he plays a central part in all of this, and Alice in Wonderland. We all know I am the walrus, I am the walrus, I am the Eggman, I am the Eggman, I am the walrus. You know, characters from Alice in Wonderland. Well, the walruses anyway. Eggman, I am the Eggman. Right. So I was just thinking about the Eggman, the dodo, said to have one egg. Again, I take that to represent, the dodo represents the earth, the face of the earth after the inundation. The egg represents maybe the electromagnetic barrier. But yeah, I am the Eggman, I am the Eggman, I am the dodo. No. I am the Eggman, I am the walrus. So who's the dodo? Well, we know Charles the Dodgson, who was said to have had a stammer and also personally related to the dodo in terms of the storytelling. That's our big clue there. So connecting all of this, Paul is dead. Dead is a dodo. A comment made by Teddy Carl, who said that on the picture, let me show this picture. Let me show this picture. This is just reiterating, but I think it bears reiteration, what I was going over earlier on, because genuinely, I think this is significant. It has to be. So let me go back here. So here's the picture, and I'm just going to check that came up as well. So here's the picture of the dodo with Alice. I pointed out that Alice is all of us. You can't tell whether that's male, female, man or woman. You know what I mean? You don't know. You assume it's small because you know, you assume Alice is a small little girl, but yeah, here she's represented as everyone, all of us, Alice, all of us. But what we pointed out, Teddy Carl pointed out that the dodo in this picture, I just checked that's coming through. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I won't dwell on this long now because I get on to reading in the next couple of chapters. But Teddy Carl pointed out that the dodo here, just like another excellent comment by Martin Connolly as well in the old chat. But here, Teddy Carl pointed out that the dodo here with the cane, the Gleason's map, the dodo, if you look upon it like it might be a dodo, well, then you can also say it has a cane with the little strip, the torn off strip. That's associated with the Gleason's map. If anyone, most people who should be flat earthers should be familiar with that. So we also have this dodo cane. This again, they're all vague connections. Taking any one out on its own, it would fall apart to scrutiny. You know, you can't make any call on any one of the points that I bring up. But when you put them in conjunction, then something different is going on. So anyway, for me anyway. So yeah, this is the cane. So the dodo, the cane, the Gleason's, the cane, right? Great. So the next point was the hands. Why are the hands? Oh yeah, Martin Connolly mentioned, and no, Martin Connolly mentioned that doesn't the dodo look like Yoda with a walking stick and everything? And well, you know, that's an excellent association for me. Excellent. Star Wars, of course, was a sort of defining piece of movie theater, movie magic in terms of its genre, and also in terms of its time. It was before its time in a big sense. Any of these big directors are privy to the ultimate secret, so a lot of things are encoded into their works. So yeah, that's a great possible connection. No one is saying anything is for certain. If you look at the dodo here, you can almost picture it, can't you? South America, wrapping up around North America, around Mexico way, down to North America way, Canada way. The North Wing is the North Center. Everything wraps around. You can imagine the top of Russia, Siberia, wrap up around Norway, Sweden, etc., wrapping around here. So you have China and all that. Africa down the tail end. In the official dodo picture, the tail end of the dodo is much wider, so it does accommodate Africa, in my view. The interesting part about this, talked about the hand coming out from beneath the wing. Why would you anthropomorphize the dodo? Why give it a hand at all? You know, why make this capture? So anyway, Martin Connolly mentioned Yoda and the dodo. Dave High made an excellent comparison as well. I've been talking about the creation of Adam and the Sistine Chapel roof with Michelangelo's work. And you see what I take now to be Lord God, the invading force, with the outstretched fang is the way I look upon it, and Adam, and it's in almost touching distance, which is not quite touching. So we haven't quite become corrupted. We can succumb to the temptation, but you know the choice is always with us. So also here you have a similar sort of representation. You could take it, right? Remember that the dodo represents. Again, it used to be called the wallow bird, in remembrance of man's destructive nature. So when we wallow in something, we cry bitter tears over something, you know, or we sort of dwell on something. So usually some sort of a loss or destruction. So Alice is not quite touching this reality. So to me, that says that she's definitely separate. We're separate from, like the map is separate from the earth. We are separate from the creation itself. And one, isn't it interesting, the dodo comes from the destruction of the earth. Lord God also came about in Genesis 2 from the destruction of the earth, from destruction of conditions, Genesis 1 conditions. So again, this is the other connection I make as well. So it's all very interesting. And again, I know it's tenable, and I know it's pretty vague to many who may be listening, but anyone who's heard me before has heard me talking about the Lord God, reptilian Lord God, I take it, and Adam. So here we have a similar situation. Lord God came from the destruction of the earth and reached out to touch us. The dodo here as well, in all its confusion. The dodo is known for his confusion in Alice in Wonderland, is reaching out to touch Alice, but not quite. There is that separation. So we are separated from the chaos, the carnage. But yeah, to get to the interesting point, and thank you for mentioning that, Dave. It's a very interesting connection. Again, I believe the same story has been told again and again. But to get to the point, I pointed out before there's a face down here. Let me go in a bit closer. I pointed out before there's a face down here. If you want to look closely, if you want to just pause your screen and take a look at it, you can clearly see a face. It's almost like two closed eyes. Here's the nose coming out. And for all the world, it looks like a handlebar mustache. You can you see my screen? Just to make sure you can. Yeah, my zoomer. Okay, my zoomer will just go in. There's the eye. There's the eye. There's one eye. There's the other eye. Here's the nose, the tip of the nose. And here's the handlebar mustache. Then you have a mouth underneath. So so here's my thing. I immediately thought back to the Beatles and Sergeant Pepper. So this is the connection to this. When I went, oh, see, I'm going to have to go back now. I'm telling you. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so just bear that face in mind. You can definitely see a face and definitely what looks like a handlebar mustache. There's no other way to put that. If you can see the face, you got an eye here, an eye here, an eye here, nose, handlebar mustache. So that's drawn in there. Whoever did the illustrations for this drew that in. So we have the wing and the hand appearing. And if you look at this hand as well, it's very like sort of a magician's little sleeve there, isn't it? Or something like that. So bear that in mind, but focusing on this hand coming out from the north wing center. So I spotted this face and then immediately occurred to me. So let me stop sharing. Let's reshare again. And it immediately occurred, hang on, I got to go back here now and put this up. Yeah, that's cool. So just like 9/11, anyone taking the Paul is dead stuff seriously, and there's big connections to 9/11 as well. November 9th, which is 9/11, is referenced again and again in the Beatles' work. This is all work done in Let's Roll forums as well, going back a few years ago. For me, where all this is detailed and gone over, and by the end of it, you're absolutely sure that these connections are purposeful, and of course it is as well. It's the greatest story never told that we're being told, I think, and Beatles have, of course, a massive part to play in it. The biggest band the world has ever seen, are painted to be that way. And again, I take it that that's another clue. So let me share my screen. So bear in mind that face I pointed out under the wing, and immediately I thought about a face under a hand. Where have I seen that before? Fucking where else have I seen it? But on Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band front cover. And there was a picture there which showed the hand clearly. There you go. So this is just the zoom in. This is just the zoom in of above here. And here you can see Paul, the fake Paul. He's taller than the rest. Just adjacent to him, they're all the same size. Over here, look, they're all the same size. But suddenly you have the new replacements, the color replacements, the modern age replacements in color. But here's the point. Underneath the hand, you have Paul. Now, this could be telling you a few things. I know within the solution of Sergeant Pepper, this was a pointer that this is where you start, right? So you start at the head. So this is pointing out that Paul begins the puzzle. Then what the author does, excellent, just excellent work. He goes through all the different steps. And excellent. Look down here, magical mystery. Well, you have Patricia Steer. What's your email? How would I get in contact with you, Patricia? Oh, it's Miss Steer. Google.com or whatever. Oh, okay, Miss Steer, as in steer, Miss Steer, as in mystery. Yeah, interesting choice of words, isn't it? So we have that connection. Patricia Steer, obviously, connection to Mark Sargent, Sergeant Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour. Then we have David Weiss, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. And again, David is an actor. I called David out as an actor a long time ago. He's a 9/11 protector. That's the area he won't go ahead on. He's stuck on Judy Wood. Stuck on. I might do that actually because I have some good lyrics for that. Stuck on Judy. Stuck on Judy Wood. I got a feeling now deep in my basement that all is not as it should be. I'd have to get out the lyrics now. So you know the tune, but yeah, it's Stuck on Judy Wood. If you get stuck on Judy Wood, you're finished. You're finished. Judy Wood's position is untenable. She admits there are no planes, therefore she has to describe all of the footage showing planes. Just briefly, has to show all of the footage showing. This is how easy I can destroy her. All of the footage showing planes as fabrications, all of it, because she says there's no planes. There was no planes in 9/11. So when you're moving on then to the next stage, which is the collapse sequences, you're going to say, well, I'm after finding out that all of the footage is fabricated. So I'm going to take a look at this footage, first of all, just to see if this fabricator shows any signs. Here's the thing. When you do that, you find that it's fabricated from foot to head, from top to toe, right? But no, Judy Wood does not entertain that. She goes through all of the footage and analyzes it as if it's real, and then comes to her energy weapons from space formulation. Okay, that's fine. But now, when you remind Judy, hang on, Judy, you know, you already, after pinpointing media fakery, what we're telling you now is when you look into these collapse sequences as well, and indeed the rubble sequences, not to mind just the plane crash sequences, all of it has been fabricated. All of it is shown in possible physics. And therefore, it's movie magic creation. It was presented to us as live on the day, but it was no more live than the dodo ever was. It was pre-prepared. So you never looked into that, Judy, and that immediately is red flags. Red flags, because you're telling us something then, aren't you? So she is telling us something. Every step of the way, there is someone waiting for you to tell you and interpret the information. But they are actors, and they will always tell you that they're actors. They will always tell you in one way or another that they are actors. I think Millennium told me the other evening, in his own way. So in a big way, there's a puzzle out there to be solved. And again, you will be guided and misguided, steered and missteered. Use your own discernment. So anyway, this picture here is the picture I was thinking of, because immediately the face beneath the dodo hand reminded me of this picture of a Paul is dead. This just popped up somewhere. Again, I had part and parcel of the conspiracy. If Paul was dead, was he replaced because he was killed in an accident? And this sort of theme is common as well throughout all of the works of the Beatles. It's hinted there, hinted here, you know. So yeah, that's the face that occurred to me. But now I'm thinking, looking at this one, glad I did. Let me zoom it in again. Here we go. This is a better picture. Look at it. So look at this face. Look at the fucking handlebar mustache, right? So I don't think we need to bother with this, even though I do still think Paul is dead. There's this sort of look about it as well. But here's the one I think now. Yeah, here we go. With the hand beneath, with the hand above, and this face. And that's what I did. I have to stop sharing as well. So remember that face. Remember that face, and just especially the handlebar mustache and the hand underneath. Stop sharing, and I'll go back to, I see, in order just to continue sharing, I have to share my full screen. So I don't want to do that because the link will be compromised. So back to the dodo. Just to show you the face again. And here we go again. I know you might say, what the fuck? I mean, it doesn't look, that face doesn't look like the other face at all, but it's not the point. There's a similarity there. You can see the handlebar mustache. Funnily enough, when those Beatles, when Sgt. Pepper came out, the Beatles, as far as I remember, were parading their ridiculous looking mustaches in the first place. And there's even a hint. There's even hints given out that the mustaches are fake, you know. So again, no accidents, no mistakes. There's a greater story being told here. So for me then, this is the hand, and this is the face underneath, right? So Paul is dead. Direct connection here. You can see how that is a direct connection. You can't deny that if that's a face, you can see it with a handlebar. You can almost see a beard around the side, but that's not important. Now, if we imagine this illustration to be around since 1900s, the turn of the century or whenever, then if this is the bigger puzzle, then Paul is dead would have been made to look similar in this sense. You know what I mean? So that's not impossible. You can't say, you know, one can't be connected to the other because of the timeline. No. This is the bigger secret. One is made off the other. So my question is, and this is my big revelation, I think, for the night. Let me reiterate it. Is this what the hidden hand, the Masonic hidden hand, is this what it references? Because remember, the hidden hand emerges from behind the north wing center. That's the way I take it. So I'm thinking I'm right in terms of The dodo as well, representing, I've always said the north wing is, the wing is the north center, as America, tip of South America, wraps around Mexico here, North America, Canada, um, yeah, Europe, Asia, wraps around, Middle East, Africa towards the back here, up here, then you have Europe and Norway, Sweden, etc., and then over the ocean to North America again. So again, yeah, the center wing was always identified as, from me, as the north center. That's how I took it, you know. So with this hand, hidden hand, emerging from the north wing center, would that make sense in terms of, let me just type in hidden hand, the hidden hand, and see what sort of pictures come up. So that's another clue now to look into. Some of the people, famous people, I guess, painted, shown with the hidden hand, and is there any sort of connection to the dodo or Alice in Wonderland? That's where I'm going. Right. It's going to be interesting. So I'm just going to go through this in a second. Let me see what you can see. Oh, no, you can go with me along the... You can go with me along the thing. So, okay, so I don't need to quit. So as long as I'm on the main thing here. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So, yeah, that's my contention now. This is my serious contention. I haven't heard this, you know, again, the more things that I go along with now, I haven't heard them from anyone else because I don't know anyone who's following particularly this line of inquiry. Be I right or wrong? It's, you know, it's fine. I'll accept that. Again, we're as far as I'm concerned, unraveling a greater puzzle here, or trying to anyway. So again, hidden hand. If this was the hidden hand, and this is what it was referencing in all of these different paintings and representations, would it make sense? Absolutely, to me now. Absolutely. If someone said to you, what does the hidden hand represent? Well, the hidden hand represents paradise. It represents the unveiling of paradise, or the concealing of paradise, you know, up at the north center. You couldn't get much bigger than that, could you? The answer to life, the universe, and Everton. 42, another grade one, 42. 42, 7 times 6. And I mentioned earlier on about breaking a mirror, bringing you 7 times back, 7. There you go as well, isn't it? 42, 7 being the number of God, which I'm having doubts about again now because of the Masonic G, and it's sort of usurping 7th place. But also 6 being the number of man, 7 times 6 is 42, which is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, but it's not quite. Because usually associated with gematria, you take away the 0, but let us reverse that and add the 0, you get 420. And funny enough, just as I was coming back up from after something to eat, they were talking on the radio about cannabis. I'm sure they went into the benefits of cannabis, but some guy is Irish radio. Some guy was from San Francisco talking about just how cannabis is perceived over there. And of course, it's just like anyone smoking cannabis knows that it's not a drug at all. And for it to be listed as a drug is an abomination. And of course, we know it's all part and parcel of this con. But as a 420, this is where my connection comes into 420. The dodo was said to be discovered in 1598. 1598 so disc covered, said to be disc covered with loads of giant turtles in the vicinity as well. Again, that's our clue, the dodo representing the flat earth somewhat, and the giant turtle. So we all know that association, flat earth and the giant turtle. But 420 then, yeah, disc covered, this is what I'm saying happened as well. The trees were taken down. The barrier collapsed, so you have an ordinary dome, an ordinary sort of snow globe type barrier. Well, imagine that's been supported centrally up through the center. And imagine that pillar collapses, well, like a souffle or like a cake. The whole center will collapse first, you know. So now you can see this a ball coming from one ball, following the destruction. And then once you have the destruction of the trees, you have a weakening of the barrier, inundation of the waters, a disc covering, And again, they gave the date in 1598. So I'm going to say it's that. That's what I'm saying. That's when everything was different. Before that, everything was different. And yeah, 420 plus 1598 gives you 2018. I ask people, do anyone know where 420 comes from? We're coming back into the age of cannabis now. And I've often said about cannabis, if cannabis was decriminalized or legalized or all this sort of stuff, then there'd be no more pharmaceutical industry, no more petrochemical industry, no more clothing industry. You know, can I go on? I could go on and on. I can go on and on. You know, so again, we're coming back to this age, and this is what I see to be the true meaning of 420. This rebuilding, this remembering, this regeneration, if you will, was always planned. And what we're going through now is life's experiences. We're greater beings than this. When we pass on, maybe you'll be just imagine you passed on before. Let's say I said it's a big unveiling. We're in the midst of a big unveiling, but imagine you passed on to the other side, I guess, and you found out everything. You might, you know, and if you realized, of course you'd realize everything, but you say, well, fuck it. The only reason I went there is to try and figure shit out, but I came away and not worked it out. Damn it, anyway. Maybe someone else might work it out. You know what I mean? This could be something like that. I remember, this is an interesting thing as well. I remember just a vague comment from someone, nothing connected to anything, but she said that she had a close relationship with her mother. This was just in the chat or something. She said, I'm just paraphrasing as well. Close relationship with her mother or something. And that if her mother left, she would give her some sort of a sign that there was an afterlife or something. So the girl in question, I don't know who it was, I'm sure it was a girl. She said, my mother did get a sign, and I had this vision or something, and all she saw was her mother sort of frowning and pointing at the sun. You know, so I thought that was amazing. You know, we want to take her word for it, because it's like it's no great revelation to say that. You know, it's nothing dramatic or shocking. So if she was going to make up the story, she'd make it something much more exciting or something. You know what I mean? But notice what she said. I take it as true as well, or true from her point of view anyway. So yeah, it is all about the sun. It is all about exactly what the sun is. Well, the sun is an artifact of a broken system. And well, this is where quasi-luminous, Devon Madge, etc., and many others at this stage, talk about the North Center and what to do when maybe you get there, or what might be in line for you. And there's an interest. Oh, this is very interesting as well. Now I have a feeling that below is paradise, right? But it's sort of like two snow globes, one on top of another, whereas the bottom snow globe is intact. So here we are up above, experiencing division, whereas the trees have been cut down, and we have so you have a single ball at the bottom, a single barrier, and an intact situation, whereas above here everything is broken and divided. And maybe there's a planned expedition to the North Center. I'm not sure if it's a communal sort of, if that's the idea behind it. I do believe that it is open for us, but of course you have to be of a certain mind. You have to get along the path a certain degree before you can even consider these possibilities, you know. But I just had a thought earlier on as well. So Charles Ludwig Dodgson, he identifies with the dodo in terms of his own storytelling. But what I'm going to do now is to find out find out a little bit more about Charles Dodgson, where he came from, any sort of clues in terms of you know, his birthplace, or where he might have lived. Or, you know, I'm looking for some sort of stress to be placed on a certain location that he was to be found. Because my thinking is, we know very little about Greenland, but one thing we do know is the capital of Greenland is Nuuk, N-U-U-K. So when Poncho Pete was going through that in his channel, immediately it occurred to me to break it up, N-U-U-K, N-U-U-K. So my thought was that if we look to the birthplace, or something like that, some significant place in the life of Lewis Carroll or Charles the Dodgson, then maybe an anagram, something anagrammatical. You can find a little town hiding away in Norway, or not in Norway, in Greenland, maybe somewhere, you know. That's an anagram of his name. Again, because New UK is the capital of Greenland, and someone doesn't want you to go near Greenland anyway at $1,000, $1,000 or something, even more for a cup of coffee. They advertise as. Yeah, so this plays a big part. So that's my thoughts on that. That, you know, to find such a stress on some places associated with I think the fictional Charles Ludwig Dodgson. I think he's a fictional, or else if there was a character, it just might be a man just taking the accolades, whereas in fact he was just another Einstein, just another front man. You know, the greater story being told behind that. It's like JFK. If you take the man and dwell on the man, you're losing the greater story. It's like 9/11. If you take the protagonist, if you take the narrative and run with that, you'll be stuck in fiction. You'll be stuck in La La Land forever. There's a greater story being told. And yeah, Jesus, the more I look at this, the more I look at it, it's like a mix of Paul and also that Paul is dead. It's like a mix of the two, isn't it? I can definitely see this here anyway. And I'll definitely go out to the chat before I continue reading, just to see if there's any feedback or any questions. But just to reiterate, that's where I'm coming from. This is what I'm saying now. This is my position, that the hidden hand that we see in so many, this hand here, let me just go to Stalin's hidden hand. That's, I think that's Lenin. Who's this? Is this Jackson, is it? I thought F.E. Jackson was a general when I was going Chris F.E. Jackson. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of General Jackson, but I don't think it's Chris F.E. Oh, so this who is this? The hidden hand. Strange how not one in the MSN can tell the public whether Clockwork Jimmy 00666 was a Freemason or a member of any. What's that about? Who's Clockwork Jimmy? Again, the 666, 00666 represents the sun. The sun is to be found at the North Pole Center. So let me just quickly, what do you call this? So here we go, perfect. So all of these hidden hand representations. These people are all actors. When you find out the same guy who played the role of Abraham Lincoln, also played the role of another president, I can't remember what his name was, but also played the role of John Brown, as in John Brown's body. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. So again, all theater. And they're pointing at something different. Yeah, here we have, who's that? Goring, yeah, I was going to say Goring. More all actors. Hitler, 420. Hitler born 420, right? One ball. Hitler, one ball, 420. So is that what we're celebrating? 420 years after something, we're celebrating, or we will be celebrating the restructuring. Yeah, so interesting. Who else? Yeah, Pat Robinson. All of these. So what I'm taking it now, all of these people with the hidden hand representations. More Clockwork, and I mentioned Clockwork Orange earlier on. Yeah, this is the bigger puzzle. This is the bigger code. Here's what I'm thinking. Look at all these bluffers. Yeah, so I take it you know what I mean. What would mean when you say the hidden hand? Let me go back and just see if there's any better. Yeah, it's everywhere. George Washington. Who's this? Don't know who that is. Let me see who that is. Another general, is that? The hidden hand. Okay, let's go into here. Occult portraits. This should give us a better indication. Oh no, I don't want to. Okay, just let that briefly run there. Right, that's coming through okay. So that's just going to flick through the... I'll just do that briefly. You just see how... I'll speed that up a small bit. And I'll go into chat then, and I'll give out a few spanners. So you can see so many different characters represented with the hidden hand. So what's the hidden hand about? Well, You know, I also equated Napoleon spending time in the 1850s. Look at this hidden hand next to the tree. Shit, I'm making the call. Let me go into chat because I saw Kaliuga 2758. How are you doing? Good to see you here. Yeah, I did watch. Of course, Maggie. Let me give you a wrench there. I know you won't be prone to use it as well, but yeah, of course I'll give you a wrench. Jamie is here. Jamie Brown. How are you, Jamie Brown? Good to see you, man. A little wrench for you. We are waking up. How are you doing? We are waking up. Good to see you, man. I know you're in Ireland as well. Yeah, PC. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Anyone wants a wrench, just ask for it. That doesn't mean I'm going to give it, but feel free to ask for it if you need it for, feel you need it for a specific reason. Yeah. Okay. I hope that's. And I'll get back to the chat in a second. Let me just get back to just finishing the rest of the day. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this with the tree in the background. So I'm saying it all connects. Wow. That's exactly what I was going to look for now. So this is my call in case you haven't heard it. The hidden hand in all of these representations represents the dodo in the 3rd chapter of Alice in Wonderland, All of Us in Wonderland. And the dodo itself represents the flat earth following the inundation or the destruction of the tree, or the trees that were part and parcel of this system, crystalline in nature, and were smitten or were felled or destroyed. Now it could be all part of assimilation, or it could be all part of an attack of some sort. This is what we have to work out. But my point is that this is what the hidden hand represents. So once you get to that level and layer of thinking, it sort of makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because the hidden hand, it's only the biggest, I guess, mystery in a sense. I see all of these prominent figures. Let me just play it through. Just want to make note of that. That's going in straight to my. It's going in straight to my my save. I'm under my Dodo folder. Excellent, excellent. So just play on there. I'll play it at speed and a half just to see if there's any other references. What I'll be looking for is references to. Let me go down to. Oh no, I won't do that. Hopefully that's coming through okay. I don't know half of these characters. Look at, oh, fuck off. Get the fuck. Look at this, people. Wait till you see this. Wait till you see this for a connection. If you haven't seen it, I saw it. Where is it? Look at this. That remind you of anything? Look at these laurels. Does that remind you of anything? All pointing to this. It's almost like a bullseye in the center. These laurel leaves. Look at the UN. Look at the UN emblem. Look at the UN logo surrounding the flat earth, isn't it? And look at it here in the shape of a heart as well. Obviously, this is a representation. These don't have to be real people just to represent historical figures that have been given to us in a narrative anyway. Again, I see the encoding here. Excellent. So the hidden hand, look where it's located as well within, towards the northern aspect. But this, again, these are just thoughts. The hidden hand here, we have this floral pattern, these laurel leaves, I think they're called. Any flat earther will recognize those immediately in terms of wrapping around the UN logo of the flat earth map. Excellent. Excellent. So we don't know any of these characters, but it's all playing towards the greater goal. What is the great project? Is the rebuilding of the sun. Now we're in the age of electromagnetic capabilities and Tesla technology. These people are all in the secret. That's someone that's letting other people know. And I'm even thinking, even this to Masons, the general Masons. So here we go. Here we go. The reason why this, yeah. I was wondering, you know, people were saying, look, here we have the hidden hand of fucking Hitler is a Mason, Stalin's a Mason. It would seem too obvious, wouldn't it? You know, they wouldn't want you to know that they were Masons. So yeah, there's something else there. So that's a superficial layer. But wouldn't it make much more sense as well if the hidden hand is, well, I don't think you can get much bigger, can you? Really, if we're going along the right lines. So this is for the elite of the Masons, if you will. Possibly, I'm just saying possibly. So they all know to one another. So the secret is, so this is a bigger secret than, let's say, the flat earth. Every Mason might know the flat earth secret. But regarding the hidden hand, they mightn't know that. They might do as well. I think they might do. I'm not sure. But they mightn't as well. So this might be privy, information privy only to like the top echelons. And potentially now all of us. This is what I'm sticking to now, and the more I'm seeing of these pictures, the more I'm going with it. Because again, if I remove that hidden hand, if I gave you my, what do you call it, idea of what the hidden hand is, and you realize that it was associated with flat Earth and the North Pole Center, there's no bigger secret. You could say that hidden hand or that hidden reference might be appropriate to or pertain to. I don't think so anyway. So let's just go through this a little bit more to see if anything else. Again, what we're looking for, just for anyone who's looking, I'll go back to the chat in a second then. But for anyone who's looking, what we're looking for is hidden hand in connection with the flat Earth, in connection with the North Pole Center, in connection with giant trees or destroyed trees, or in connection with the sun or the moon, because they're all sort of part and parcel of the same deal. So let me just play that again and see if there's anything else that occurs. Well, there you go again. Look at this. Look at this. I don't know who these characters are, but that would be interesting to find out. The potted plant up above, you know, that's what I'm saying. This has been cut off. That I mentioned the World Cup earlier on, didn't I? I mentioned the World Cup. And what's the significance of that? Well, there we have a World Cup, isn't it? It's almost like yeah. Well, no, I was going to say something different now, but no, I won't say that then. No, I was going to say it was almost like a fleur-de-lis. A fleur-de-lis for me encodes the barrier, the bi-ball system. So you have, it's sort of like a cross section of it. So if you look at it the right way, you could see it being that, you know, again, a two-part system, which has one has collapsed, the central pillar has collapsed, and the barrier has collapsed down on top of that. So you can imagine a spider-like double barrier. So this is what I think has been referenced here, but that's just a vague reference. So let me just move on. That looks, no, I was going to say that looks like Oscar Wilde. So here we have, I'm definitely sure I know this guy. This is, oh, it's not Karl Marx, is it? It's the Freemason guy. The most famous of them. He wrote Morals and Dogma. He looks like Karl Marx to me though there, but no, I think it's Morals and Dogma. Morals and Dogma is name's on the tip of my tongue. I'm sure anyone out there in chat, I won't go to chat now, but will recognize him. It's not Manly P. Hall, is it? It could be Manly P. Hall. No, that's the secret of all teachings of all ages. Let me see. Okay, I'll just see who wrote that if it comes to me before I look into it. It's not coming yet, and I'm nearly on Dogma. Morals and Dogma is Albert Pike. Fuck's sake, down the Pike, Albert Pike. So let me just see Albert Pike. Let me just see if that is Albert Pike. Don't know anything about him. Never read his books. Oh, yeah, it very well could be, couldn't it? Especially this one here. Let's have a better look. No, it wasn't that. No, it's not him. So I think it's da, 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 da. Fuck! I just had the name a minute ago. The Communist Manifesto. That guy. No, I better not. Normally, I just stay still until it came to me, but I won't do that because people. Now I'm going to have to go to communists. I don't think they're the same. They look very similar, don't they? I wonder, is that purposefully done as well? They're definitely not the same. I think that is that guy, the communist Marx, Karl Marx. That's, of course, who it is. Let me type that in. Karl Marx. He pretends to be on the side of his fellow common man as well. He's married to aristocracy. That's part and parcel of the deception. Karl Marx. Let's go into yeah, it is Karl Marx, right? Well done. So my first thoughts were correct. I bet you he was 64 when he died. I bet you he was 64, 8 times 8. When I'm 64. Yes, he was. Look, he didn't reach his 65th birthday. Excellent. So 1818 to 1883. Excellent. That's Karl Marx. You could almost say sitting on a broken tree. Who is this? Maybe Rasputin or something. All these freaks. I'm not going to say freaks, but they're all players. They're all bigger players in the game, and these are top men, aren't they? So I'm wondering, do even the lower level? I'm not saying it's correct, but I wonder, do even the lower level Masons understand what the hidden hand properly is? There's many different layers encoded. I'm going to go with the hidden hand. If you haven't heard it before, I'm going to go with what I'm thinking now. The hidden hand. It all refers to the dodo, the hidden hand. And what lies beneath the North Center, of course, in the grander sense, is telling you about the flat Earth. But beyond flat Earth, there's more mystery to come, and this is what lies beyond the North Center. Excellent. Oh, what was that? Oh, hang on. He said Masonic. So this guy says Masonic hand signs solved. They hide the name Helios. Right, that's very close to Helios, isn't it? Sun. Damn, that's another interesting connection there, isn't it? Helios, the sun. The sun came about because, yeah, this is, again, to reiterate, the sun came about because the tree, especially the central tree in the north, was destroyed. And this is what the sun is now when we look at it. Energies are shining and the energies are projecting as normal, but the distribution system has been cut off. So if you imagine planting a tree upon the stump now, those energies would be transmitted via the limbs and via the whatever, the leaves, etc. But with the tree taken off, the energies are still intact. So that energy is being projected up through the tree stump in a circular type of fashion, and we get the sun as a consequence. And this is where the sun came into, or the rainbow comes into being. Rainbow, excellent. Rainbow of 42 degrees. The angle of the light hitting the water particle to give you the rainbow colors. Well, there's your 42, 6 times 7, man's number time God's number, but you have to do a little operation to get 420 from that. And yeah, the rainbow came into being. Because pretty much here, this is what you're seeing. You're seeing this, well, even just this little thing is just a cross section of a tree, right? And you're looking at where the tree meets the environment around it, the energies, the limitations to the energies, right? So this takes a roughly circular fashion. Let me just say, I predicted a while back that if you could get a clear picture of the sun, it wouldn't be quite as regular and and spherical or circular, as we like to think. You know, it's so intense and bright that we can't get a grasp on it and its actual outline. Well, again, thanks to Anthony Riley, this picture came up. So let me stop sharing and bring up a different picture to show you just definitely on the right track. Can't be any doubt about it. It's just too many things, you know. And again, I'm speaking to myself. I don't expect many people to go along here, but I do maybe expect some, because some might have been listening over the last while or whatever. But again, this is a personal journey. I'm just trying to figure this shit out as I go as well. So in a big sense, there's no sharing anything with anyone, but we are of the right time. I've certainly, anyone I listen into, I certainly have my ears open at all times. So let me go to that. So just talking about the sun, there you go. Look at that. If you looked at that, that's far from regular, isn't it? You can't say that the clouds are blocking it off. No, you won't get away with that. The sun will shine through the clouds. But here we have low sunlight. What I mean by low sunlight is it's not direct. It's coming in at a very low angle, almost a parallel angle. So we're getting a better image of it. But look at it. Wouldn't you say, imagine that was a tree stump and you're sort of looking down the barrel of it and as light energy has been projected up it. That's what you'd see, wouldn't you? Look at all the ragged edges. So what I'm saying is, as you can see my screen, what I'm saying is, let me draw a circle. I'll do it in, I don't know, I'll do it in blue. So around here, this is the peripheral, right? Ah, shit, I'm not doing this too well. I'm just, you get the idea. I don't have to be too exact, right? So this is the, this is the peripheral. So outside of this, so this is the contained thing itself. Outside of it is the atmosphere, or whatever you want to call that. So all the energies are on the inside, broadcasting up through us, right? The sun is a focused reflection, because when those energies go off up into the air or whatever, then they'll continue until they meet something. Well, then they meet the barrier, and the barrier behaves like a perfect mirror, because it's water, invisible water, or an invisible barrier holding back waters beyond, and you're introducing light energies. This sets itself up for a perfect mirror. So this reflects, and then we get to see it. It is observer dependent, and this is why I think it's just one sun, but we're viewing it at various angles. At the hottest part of the day is when the sun is directly, or as close as it can be, directly above us. So we're getting 90-degree, if you want, emanations coming down at us. The coolest part of the day is in the morning and evening, when that angle has changed to almost 0 degrees. When it does go past 0 degrees, then we experienced nighttime, because that the sun's rays, the energies, let's put it that way, are no longer interfering at our level with the luminiferous ether. So when you don't have that excitation in the presence of water, vapor, water is everywhere, then you don't have light. But remember, as it goes to beyond 0 degrees from our point of view, that light is still emanating in its whole, you know. So this is where the stars then come into appearance for us. That light still continues on and hits the barrier, and comes along then to hit our eyes. But you can see, this is the point, you can see that when we look at a rainbow, then see this blue peripheral line I've drawn. This is the boundary condition we're looking at. This is the actual rainbow we're looking at. It's the light energies transmitted through the tube, if you will. And this is what we're looking at. And this is why the rainbow came into creation after the deluge, after the flood, after the destruction of the trees. And I think it's in Ezekiel somewhere that Lord God even talks about fucking destroying the giant trees. When I mentioned this to MG Pillbox or Knowledge Scavenger or people like that, they go, well, you're fucking stupid to be taking that literally. You know, you can't take that sort of stuff literally. That's allegorical. When you point out to them that the rest of the Bible has to be taken pretty much allegorical, they say, you're stupid. You can't take that out allegorically. You got to take that literally. So again, these are the games that are being played. Beware of the Bible literalists and beware of the Jewish contingent. And there is a connection between the Jewish contingent and the Bible literalist, which takes precedent. I'm not sure, but they're part and parcel. And I'm wary of all, I'm afraid, because I see that they're pushing this lie. This Bible literalist stuff is not true. It's simply not true. And you're told in chapter 22 of Revelations, we're told it's in no specific terms. Jesus is the root of the morning star, or the morning sun. No, the morning star, which is pretty much Jesus telling you he's Lucifer, but nothing to be scared of as well. All the stars are aspects of this sun face. If you have a pattern on this face here, look, you can't see it now because it's too intense and too bright. If you have a pattern on this face here, well, you ought to see that pattern somewhere else. Well, you do. The face of the sun, when you look at the moon, the full moon, you're looking at this interface. I call it the stump sun tree interface. So it's the sort of I'm not going to say it's the stump template, if you will, because I think there's a depth to it, you know. But I think you get the idea. It's sort of difficult to explain or to get across in proper terms. But this is what the rainbow is. Many people think of a rainbow as an arch, but no, it's not. As you rise higher, again, because it's all, the sun is observer dependent, as a rainbow is observer dependent, as the moon is observer dependent. All observer dependent, because they're all reflected lights off the sky. So excellent. This is what it's all about, and this is what the hidden hand refers to, I think. You know, amongst many other things as well, the hidden hand could also refer to who the fuck brought down these trees. But no, I take it in a different sense. I take it that this hidden hand, when you lend a hand to somebody, we know what that means. So this hidden hand is at work behind the scenes, maybe doing a great work. And is this the great work? The rebuilding of everything. We're in the electromagnetic age, the Tesla age. Is this what all the towers are about? Are they transmission centers or points to restructure the dome, I guess, restructure the barrier, rebuild it? Yeah, this is where I'm at. So yeah, let me just undo that to show you. This is a real picture of the sun over. This is Anthony Riley posted this on his chat when he was just talking about curvature. He brought another excellent point in here. When you're looking over water, there is always a mirrored layer effect set up on the basis of water and energies, sun energies interacting. You know, this layer can be many miles in thickness, but it's all compressed into a very apparent short distance down here. And this is what the sun disappears behind, right? This is what we would expect as well. And this explains sunsets and sunrises perfectly. And I've explained that even a few years ago at this stage, but the questions are still being asked. Well, not by me anyway. But the only reason I wanted to bring this up, yeah, look at that. Does that look like the sun to you? Are you going to tell me that these are clouds? Well, I'm not saying that they're not as well, but I am saying that it's pretty peculiar. And I knew a picture like this would come up. I said, I bet you there's pictures out there showing the sun is not going to be quite as regular and as even as we might think. And then this picture came up, and I said, beautiful. Look at that. That's, isn't it? It's a fucking tree stump with light shining through it. And yeah, I'm sticking with that for the minute. So let me stop screen sharing. I don't need to keep that. Yeah. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick cigarette. I'll go into chat and just see any sort of comments there. I'm calling it tonight, though. The hidden hand, at least in one of its forms, is exposed. Yeah. It all ties together, man. It has to. It's a greater work. It's greater work. And again, a very interesting, Hitler was shown with the hidden hand. Hitler, born on 420. So many things have happened on 419. And so, I don't know, again, it's, someone pointed it out. You have 419 where you have the loss, the destruction, and then 420, which is the sort of, it's always associated with a happier time, which is a bit contradictory as well. When you think about Hitler and the story told to us of Hitler, but everything is fucking flipped. Right? Everything is flipped. So that's a kind of an indicator. We'll stay away from Hitler. No significance to him at all. So keep the profane away, I'm thinking, you know. So no significance to him at all. Anything associated with him, you could pretty much walk on and spit all over. No, we take it differently. Hitler with the Nazi sign, that's the North Star Center with the Great Bear revolving around it as the night goes on and the seasons go on, you know. X marks the spot. You can see how it's a big X with the Nazi symbol. Hitler 420. I'm sure it wasn't his birthday, but 420, very significant. Back to one ball. That's the hidden hand. That's the great project. That's my contention. Do with it what you will. So, excellent. Did I save that? I don't know if I did. I'm going to save that anyway. I did. I'm going to go in here actually as well. I'll save that for next time. He says he solved it. So with the name Helios, that's why I brought that up. Horn hand sign. I'm definitely going to have a look at that. Oh, this guy's Chris Constantine. This is Chris Constantine. Okay, so that's a CC. So beware, in other words. Beware. But they hide the name of Helios. I take that is associated with the sun. Perfect sense. When the sun came into being, the old system collapsed. This is what we're wallowing in. This is what we're regretting. This is where the roses and rue come into it. Roses, I pointed out to someone else, to Charlotte, I think, as her avatar. It's roses. Is this telling us about the whirlpool at the north? Got the impression that it was. And rue, yeah, we certainly have a lot to rue. The birth of the sun was a time of great pains, a birthing of great pains, and it certainly wasn't natural. You know, it was a destruction. So that's where we're at. I'm just going to save that and have a look at that later. And excellent. Yeah, that's all I need for now. Excellent. By rights, I should go through this because it's such an excellent thread. But let me post the link in chat again for this. And you should be going through that yourself. So there's that link. So just give me a couple of minutes. Just have a cigarette, a little sort of pondering on that. And I'll go back to chat then and I'll continue on reading the last couple of chapters in Alice in Wonderland. I won't stay on too long now as well after that. Wow. So give me a minute. And I just looked at the viewers and it was 13. That's why I talk about Jesus. And with disciples are nothing without Jesus. Jesus is 13, the sun. The disciples are the 12 constellations, which just represent the stars. And without the 13, the 12 are nothing. So, and again, without the sun, you threw a big blanket over that sun tree stump, and it was a full night otherwise. Yeah. So not only earthwide would the daylight go out, we would just go to black. But if at the other side of the earth, the full moon was out and the stars and all their beauty and the planets or whatever, everything would go out. It would just go blank because everything is an emanation from the sun. So yeah, to 13 viewers at that point. So yeah, that's cool. 13 is the key number. 13 is their lucky number because it is everything. Without the sun, we'd be fucked. So God knows how those energies were distributed beforehand and all separated. So the sun is the sum total. All of those energies are thrown in together. Or maybe different energies when separated would have different components and aspects to them, which would make a lot more sense to us by nature. So yeah, just let me have a cigarette. I'll be back with you in a sec. Okay, a little musical interlude. I've been a rover, and I've walked alone. I've hiked 100 highways. I've never found a home. Even still, I'm happy. The reason is, you see, well, once in a while along the way, well, love's been good to me. There was a girl in Denver before the summer storm. Oh, her eyes were tender. Oh, her arms were warm. And she could smile away the thunder, kiss away the rain. Even though she's gone away, you won't hear me complain. I've been a rover, and I walked alone. I've hiked 100 highways. I've never found a home. Even still, I'm happy. The reason is, you see, once in a while along the way, well, love's been good to me. There was a girl in Portland before the winter chill. We used to go a-courting along October Hill, and she could laugh away the dark clouds, cry away the snow. It seems like only yesterday, as down the road I go. I have been a rover, and I walked alone. Hiked 100 highways. I've never found a home. Well, even still, I'm happy. The reason is, you see, once in a while along the way, well, love's been good to me. Once in a while along the way, well, love's been good to me. Another song I just heard Johnny Cash singing, so I like the sounds of it. It's written here, Rod McEwen. So it's called, excuse me, as you might have guessed, Love's Been Good to Me. So a great song, a great sentiment. You're very lucky if you can say that, can't you? Love's been good to me. With love, again, all words, like blessed. I mentioned this before as well. Blessed. You have the church blessing all of us, right? Blessing the babies, blessing the congregation, blessing the family, stabbing them in the back and oppressing them and raping children and robbing money and representing this demonic force. So if they're blessing you, maybe there's something in the word that tells us it's not exactly what we have been understanding it to be. And of course, when you break it down, bless you, bless you, be less you, be less you. Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it? And if we all consent, then yes, Father, yes, we will be let. You know, this is how the fuckers work. So their tricks are over. Their spells are undone. And again, it's all word trickery. I mentioned it earlier on. It's all about perception. That's how we perceive things. This is what they rely on. They rely on trickery. They rely on persuasion. They rely on peer pressure, all of this sort of stuff, but nothing direct. It's all perceived force against our own strong position. which, you know, sometimes feels stronger than others, but it just depends on the context where we can put everything into. So yeah, I've changed the word around, even though love is a great word, but it's commonly said as well. Ovel, I like Ovel. Yeah, why not? Why not? Ovel has been good to me. I think we don't know what Ovel is. What do you reckon? But we may be finding out. So this is why Jesus always points to his heart as well. Ovel is always placed in the heart. Well, I think all of these are for very good reasons. Our heart is the center, and nothing works as the way they've said. The heart isn't a pump. My heart isn't pumping furiously 8 liters of blood around my body. No, that's not what's happening at all. A completely different set of rules apply now, as within, so without. So it's all about vibration. Ovel just sounds better to me as well. It has a better vibration about it. And yeah, if we can raise the vibration of our heart, I think fundamentally what we'll be doing is counteracting this ethereal force, this luminiferous ether. This is, again, what I think the sunlight is, this interaction, this excitation these energies are causing in the midst of this magnetic field we find ourselves under, and combine that with water. Water everywhere, you know, just rarefied as you go from the top down. This is why I say where the barrier collapsed, here we have this ice wall, if you will. It's where the land, the water beyond, and the barrier interact. Now, we don't have those conditions above because you just got 2 of the 3. You got the barrier and the water. There's nothing for it to rest against, like, you know. But once it hits land, and this is what I say as well, you have this constant dripping. I'm going to call it dripping, not in the sense that we are aware of, but just in the microscopic sense. Just that's again, I said this force has to be an equal and opposite force. So this force is holding back those waters, right? Underneath that, there has to be an equal and opposite force. If you think of the change in density of the dense waters beyond, and then the nothing, pretty much, that force is going to be pretty strong. Only when you reach certain levels, and again, this barrier is only a few short miles up. That's all there is to it. A few short miles up. So yeah, this prevailing electromagnetic field that we're under, which is never meant for us, will be pretty strong, especially the higher up you go. There has to be an equal and opposite force. So this is why nothing can go too high. But yeah, it's water all the way down in its various forms, under temperature and conditions of pressure and location within a magnetic field. So that water at the top, I'm just going to call it water, is trying to make it down to this cloud layer. That's its null layer. That's where it wants to come to rest naturally, right? So this is where we have the cloud layer, and that's what will always be the cloud layer, because it's located at a specific point within this magnetic field that was never meant for us. Again, when the trees were there, and the joint supporting trees around the equatorial areas, or the desert areas of the world and other places, everything beneath those canopies was protected from all of this, you know. So if we can raise our heart vibrations to counteract this vibration, then we can, like a bumblebee, you know, travel around free of it, in a sense. And I suppose maybe in a spiritual sense as well. But we have to work on other things within to get that. We have to connect our heart, our groin, I think it's our groin as well, our heart, our groin, and our pineal gland together, and sort of generate this sort of flowing motion up and down, out in the anus. I don't mean to be rude in any sense, but sort of out the anus, out to the top of the head, flowing in a 300 all the way around you. So if you can imagine a sort of a lily, I suppose, I don't know if it's closed up, that sort of constant flowing. And if we can get that consistently going by having the right heart, in other words, understanding this relationship, understanding that it's in the power, our own power, to control it. I think this is along the line. So once we can connect this crystal pineal gland spark that remains within us, once we can get that connected, in a metaphysical sense as well. But literally, you can feel it in a medical, in whatever sense you like. A thought can affect the reality. You know, I can think about a woman now. You know, whatever you might think about a man, whatever you want to think about. But you know, you're going to feel a certain way, and if I thought about it enough, I could have certain physical reactions. You know, so again, it all stems from a thought. So mind over matter, or mind can control matter, but mind isn't quite what they told us it is as well. So getting all these things to work in unison and allowing that energy to flow in and out. So you're connecting your pineal spark to your heart. You're imbuing your blood, right? Your blood is the thing as well. Anyone knows about the legal name? Yeah, I recommend doing the blood over intent. It's nothing to anyone else. It's between you, your creator, and everything else. You know who you are now. You know you're not the legal name. This drop of your blood, this precious liquid. All seals of old were in scarlet or purple or bright red to represent the blood seal. So you're just letting that be known that you've reached a certain stage, that you've come to this awareness. Again, I don't think you'll get into the North Center with your passport. You're not going to arrive on your jet ski with your passport and go, there you go, buddy. You might, but I don't think you will. You'll just be met with a boundary. You know, you'll be met with a dead end. So, because this goes beyond that. So that's the way I see it. Yeah, raising the vibration of your heart, anagram of earth, ether, same. So telling you there, Jesus always pointing to his heart as well. Jesus was celibate in the Bible, or at least never mentioned anything about it, whatever his sexual habits. But that's not the point. Jesus didn't exist in any real sense. The Middle East, the ancient Middle East didn't exist. They invented it. They invented the Bible. The Bible, 1611, I think now is probably the best date for when the Bible came about. Mentioned to Frank, well, I mentioned it before, but Frank never heard it, but thought it was an interesting connection, an ounce of salt per day, when he was talking the other night, that the Bible isn't mentioned in Shakespeare, and the pyramids aren't mentioned. I'm pretty sure in Shakespeare as well. I'll have to check that now. But the pyramids aren't definitely mentioned in the Bible. So Shakespeare in and around the 1600s. This connects with Nico helps Google 1649-ish. I don't think that's quite, so you can imagine nothing been able to be traced back in terms of primary source material from then, but the rebuilding or the writing or the construction of these fabricated accounts, you know, the Bible, for instance, could have all been taken care of in these years previously, between 1598 and 1649-ish. Isn't it interesting as well that 1590 from 1598 to 1649 is just 51. Immediately told in terms of 52 cards in a deck, and if you include 1598 as well as a year, then you have 52. So I don't think these numbers are chosen. I don't think Nico helped as an insider. I think definitely inside information. He was one of the initial no-planers on 9/11. Not that I followed him or anything, but he did show up in Clues Forum with some very interesting but off the wall sort of posts and comments, you know. I made my way over to, not because of him or anything, but I just made my way over to, by a natural process, over to the Flat Earth Society, never as a member or anything, but just reading. And lo and behold, up pops Nico helped. And this is where his idea of 1649-ish comes in. I think he was analyzing, what was that volcano, the most famous one, Pompeii. And he was talking about how some of the artwork is identical, or one, at least he was speaking specifically about one piece of art was identical to something that was produced in the 17th century. So this was his connection there, if I remember from the thread, but he was making many other connections as well in a very intelligent and a very cohesive manner. Because remember, you can go to Pompeii, you can look up online pictures from Pompeii, so you see all of these things represented here. Yeah, so he never made it beyond 1649. I mean, for instance, if he found in his voluminous work, if he found primary source material dating back to, let me see, even say 1610, sure he would have said Google 1610-ish, you know, because this is the earliest. I could go back. No, 1649, you should know before. So yeah, that was that connection between 1598 and 1640. It's almost 52. Well, it is 52 if you count the one of the years inclusive, and that gives you a full deck. So that's where I see that connection. That was just talking about love, Ovel, how we need to raise our vibration and maybe switch around some of the words that have been given to us. Again, it's all about your intent. No word is bad, and if quite a few words are actually good, but have been turned bad. Cunt is a big one. We all live in a country, you know. No problem saying country. Break up that word for me, please. No. Why not? Just no. You know. So we have to be willing to flip everything. And that includes moving around words, our letters within words, or even inventing our own words ourselves to represent things. That's perfectly fine, isn't it? I think ultimately we don't need words. We can communicate perfectly adequately, telecommunicatably, I was going to say. Telecommunicatably. Okay, let me go into chat. Get rid of a few things here. Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts on what I was saying about the hidden hand there? Let me go back and just welcome anyone else who's joined a bit late. Thank you for coming along. Some interesting things being talked about tonight, for me anyway. So, yeah, I don't think I welcomed anyone actually maybe from the start. I haven't gone through any of the comments. So I hope everything is going smoothly enough in the chat. And let me just go down to, yeah, James Doherty, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Interesting theory you say about Paul. Well, there's much more to the story than that. I mean, it's really one of those things. There's so much written about Paul is dead, and there's so many areas you can go into, and I have read a whole hell of a lot. This is going back a good few years, though. You know, I long since settled on Paul is dead is just a psyop, but I didn't realize there's a greater story to it, which indeed there is. So yeah, there's much more to the Paul is dead story. If you haven't gone near it, well, and you're interested, well, be prepared for a massive rabbit hole. Where I would start is the link I posted there, which is Paul is dead solved, or Sergeant Pepper's, not Paul is dead, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band solved. So yeah, how are you doing? We are waking up. How are you doing? I know this is from earlier on as well, so probably lots of people are gone. Right, Mick. You're okay, Mick. So you say your theory on missteer is diarrhea, a condition in which feces are discharged from the bowels frequently and in liquid form. Do you want to explain what you mean by that, Mick? I'm not quite sure. All I sense in your comments are sort of, yeah. I don't think I actually want you around, Mick, if that's okay. So I'll ask you to leave in your own terms, if that's all right. But you can stay if you like, but I'm not going to be taking much notice of your comments because, again, they're all loaded with sort of sarcasm and sort of negative connotation to you, Mick. So I'm feeling that. I asked you to keep it at bay, but you're not doing that. And I bet you as I go down to the comments, I'll just be satisfied that I'm right. So I wouldn't expect you to appreciate what I'm saying. You don't know anything about the legal name, Mick. I know a hell of a lot about the legal name, but you know that doesn't matter, does it? You won't sort of take a step back, say, maybe I don't realize. Well, see, then I think there's something else going on here. So again, I sense that in your comments, and I'm not bothered, man. So you're welcome to stay, but if you left, it wouldn't be any loss to me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't feel it. YouTube, how you doing, man? Good to see you. I'm sure you got a chance to as you said, you were going to go over that hangout and see where me and Millennium went. Well, I was going to say head to head. It wasn't. It was just me, my head. So I was the one who was doing the heading. So I'm sure you went through that. It'd be interesting to see what your point of view is. Not that it will change. It will change my point of view because I was there. So I picking up on things that you might have missed, and yeah. But you've obviously been aware of Millennium from the start. So to think that he's Risla, I'm sure you might have come across the point where I asked him that, and his answer spoke volumes, didn't it? It's almost impossible that he hasn't heard of Risla. Him being so active around flat earth chats and all that. But yeah, it was his answer, and then his protesting too much afterwards. Which sort of, and I already had a hint of it in the voice, some of the mannerisms as well. So not quite making that call 100%, but pretty close to it. So how you doing, Ute? Welcome. Kaliyuga 2758. How are you doing, Maggie? If you want me to read out your comment. A friend of mine said his dad finally gave in and took cannabis to ease pain and use of prescription drugs for 40 years. He is without pain and off his prescription drugs after only a couple of weeks. Well, this is what we're I think this is the time of 420 as well. And again, just listen to the radio in passing. There was someone was interviewed about cannabis. So definitely the tides are turning, and we're coming up to 420 from the dodo as well. That's my direct connection. And the dodo, a doobie, why would they call it a doobie? A doob. You're going for a doob. Well, think about dodo, think about the second do, mirroring it, exactly, just mirroring it. And then you get D-O-O-B, doob. Doob associated with 420, associated with dodo. You see those connections? They're pretty shiny connections, and they're not the only dodo connections as well. So yeah, well, you know about cannabis over in California as well, and I mean, again, it's a ridiculous system, but if it's all been played out according to a script, we have to live some way, and we have lived hard, and we've learned a lot, especially in quieter, more meditative times or moments, and we can appreciate that. We sort of view things a little or a lot differently. So yeah, there's a greater story playing out, and I think I'm glad to say anyway, Maggie. Well, I am. It's not quite over. Where to go from here? But definitely see that end, and you know better than most as well. How that end that we are expecting. So, yeah, great times ahead. 420, of course, universally would mean good times for everyone. Anyone who's a user of cannabis, a smoker, or in any other way, in many more important ways, will understand the benefits to it. There's absolutely no downside to it, in one sense. And imagine you didn't need cannabis to feel as good as we know you can feel from a good smoke. You don't need anything else. So imagine you didn't need that as well, and I think we don't need that ultimately. It's just an avenue to an end. Yeah. Welcome, Maggie. No nukes. How you doing, man? You posted a hidden hand. Excellent. See, thank you. I posted a hidden hand reference to Whale, James Whale. Right. So here's what I'm saying to you. Or here was the question I was asking. Oh, Whale has some absolutely magnificent pieces of information. So again, it's one of those symbols, but I wonder, does everyone realize what the symbol means? That's thank you for that, man. That's an excellent link. I'm going to save that as well. Whale is always great for information, isn't he? Whoever Whale is, whatever's going on there. But again, we're being fed information. So I'm just looking at some of it. You see the checkerboard floor. Yeah, excellent. And I guarantee you, there's going to look at this. Well, would you look at that? Right, let me show my screen. I'll do this briefly. Thank you, no nukes. Excellent. All the dots are connecting. Again, when we look for this, so here we go. This is what let me just state it again for anyone listening and they might have missed it earlier. When we look at references to the hidden hand, what I'm saying now is all these references point to ultimately the dodo in chapter 3 of Alice in Wonderland, where you have the hidden hand and the face of Paul is dead underneath the hand, which connects to Sergeant Pepper, which connects to flat Earth. So obviously, you know, we're after getting to flat Earth to get here. So the dodo is just, thank you, excellent. My one question was, knowing how significant the dodo was, absolutely very significant. But was it, the first significance was that all the dodo was just pointing you to was the Gleason's map. So once you came to the Gleason's map and started considering flat Earth seriously, then you don't need the dodo anymore. Or was the Gleason's map pointing you to the dodo, which was that once you got to the Gleason's map and then you came across the dodo, then it begins. So I think it's the latter there, and I can rule out for the most part now the first pause. So yes, the dodo is absolutely very significant. And what my contention is now is that the hidden hand points to chapter 3 of Alice in Wonderland, All of Us in Wonderland, specifically to the dodo, which the author himself, Charles Ludwig Dodgson, who had a stammer, so he would have gone by Charles Dodgson, identified specifically with the character of the dodo, which is a strange choice considering that the dodo makes a minimal appearance. And yes, so again, we have to go further. So once we get to the dodo, look at the significance of, yes, of course, if the dodo needs a cane, if it had a cane, but it didn't need to have a cane in the first place. It didn't need to be written into the story like this. It didn't need to be almost touching Alice's hand. It didn't need to play any part. That's the point. But it did for specific reasons. So yeah, you have to cross so many bridges before you even get to that point. Isn't that the case? If you don't consider flat Earth at all, but you consider, let's say, Paul is dead, you won't make the connection. That's the way I see it now. So that the hidden hand points to the dodo in chapter 3 of Charles Dodgson's work, Alice in Wonderland, which points to the hand emerges from underneath the wing of the dodo. And I have stated that I think the dodo is a representation. It bears an uncanny resemblance, first of all, to the Gleason's dodo, or the Gleason's map, and many other maps as well. But I think there's more to the story than that. I think the dodo is the actual landmass representation, as in the scaled down manner. And the north center itself, which is the core of everything, which is where everything goes back to, is hidden underneath the wing where the hand emerges from. So anyone who's showing a hidden hand is telling you that they know the history of the earth. They know it's also over your heart. Heart is at the earth. Heart is the earth center. Jesus points to his heart. Jesus is the tree located at the north center. So again, when we look at any representations of when I look at it, let me just, when I say we, the royal we, taking the piss, but when we look at any representations of the hidden hand now, we're looking for it to be associated with the north center, the broken sun tree, right? So that's the moon and the stars, flat earth map, any flat earth sort of iconography, and that sort of thing. So yeah, so this is what I'm going to share. You'll enjoy this, no nukes. I don't even know where this. What's this? It says Mother, Teacher, Destroyer by. Oh, this is a heavy metal band. The Hidden Hand. Is that? Oh no, this is this one. Again, look. Sun, moon, planet, stars. It's like the sun in the center, isn't it? The Hidden Hand. If YouTube is there, you remember the hummingbird and the pattern in the, was it the magnifying glass? Yeah, this is the pattern. This is the energies, how they're transmitted from the sun. And I pointed out before, if you wet your eye, look up at the sun. If you don't do sun staring, I think you should. This is where energy comes from. If you look up at the sun, slightly wet your eyes, you'll see all these patterns as the energies, the sun's energies radiate through, again, not just the atmosphere. Well, I think this is what's happened. The all-prevailing ether, and we're within the magnetic field. If we could dig a hole in the ground 20 miles deep and jump in, I think we would find our null point at about 20 miles down, maybe less, 10 miles down, something like that. But certainly some distance beneath. But if we're being a water particle, this is where we find our null point, up at the cloud layer. It's when this becomes saturated then from above and below that it leaks out. If we look at water, I pointed out the last time looking at the tarpaulin rooftop of the little summer bench out the back, or swinging bench out the back, and yeah, each water particle is sort of separate, but everything is looking for the path of least resistance and is looking. And I made a comparison with the bad cop in Terminator 2, the liquid guy, that each part could sort of collapse in itself and reformulate. So this is what water droplets are trying to do and amalgamate together. But if you have that in a rarefied form in the cloud layer level, and I can even see now why are there fluffy clouds? Because you've got that harmonious sort of vibrational interaction between the electromagnetic barrier field we're underneath and just the water particles themselves. So that's their harmonious sort of null state there that we would find ourselves should we jump 20 miles down, but obviously we're a lot denser. So yeah, when this is fed then from above and below, and again, how's it fed from below? Above? Well, this is where the sun comes into things as well. The sun is the sun's energies. It's causing a drastic sort of change between when it's present and when it isn't present in conditions up there, So it's all of these interactions that are occurring, and the sun itself is leaving its mark on the electromagnetic boundary, I guess. That's the way I look upon it, on the barrier. It's leaving its mark on the water barrier, and it's affecting water by excitation. This is how it's happening. I don't think the sun is hot or cold. It's only when the energies, whatever those energies are, and they're amazing energies, as we know, are interacting with the water. This is where we get this sign on the center of the guy's hand here when we look at the sun, and we also get it on the 10-pound note. Again, if you wet your eyes and look up at the sun in the late evening, you'll see these patterns emerging. You'll also see the sun turning red, or you'll see this sort of the atmosphere turning red. And if your eyes were dry, then they wouldn't be red. This is what I think is what's happening in the full moon as well. It's all about the interrelationship between the positions of the sun and the atmosphere and the barrier beyond, because the moon is just a reflection of the face of the sun. So very interesting. So we're looking for all of these things. And again, here, look at this. I'm sure they're all encoded here, but here we have the bumblebee. Look at the bumblebee. What's this? This is from the Independent Order of fuck off. I didn't even see that. Of Odd Fellows. Come on. Come on. And here we are talking about the dodo. Just added an O in there, which you could almost take from order, the beginning of the order, and you have Oddo, which is dodo. But yeah, I haven't seen this. But the bumblebee, yeah, the bumblebee. Look at the bird. Look at these leaves, laurel leaves, again surrounding the flat Earth map. The bumblebee, frequency vibration. So it defeats the ether. This is what our heart is about as well. It defeats the ether by vibrating at its own frequency, And again, bumblebees have been tracked to fly in a straight line at 30 miles an hour. Again, we're going to say levitate, and the wings are just for directionality. But at 30 miles an hour, through 30 miles an hour crosswinds. So they should be blown to shit all over the place. So no, what they're doing is you're creating your own electromagnetic field, if you will, according to vibration. And you're counteracting this field. So that's where the bumblebee comes in. Well, the dove, is this representative? Again, it's all about the flood. It's all about referencing change, a time before and a time after. And we can associate, of course, the dove with the flood, but also look at the leaves here. We can associate them with the flat Earth map and the UN representation with the laurel leaves around. The all-seeing eye. Well, yes, that's another interesting one, isn't it? Again, ice age. You can read that a few ways, can't you? Ice age or eye sage. The all-seeing eye. Is it all-seeing eye, as in me all-seeing? Who are we really? You know, what powers lie latent within us? So good few signs there, isn't it? Again, clouds around the 3 rings up here, not getting any. That's interesting. I'll definitely have a look through all of this. Witchcraft, hand of glory. But again, these are look at what we hit upon. And Paul is the one with the hidden hand. Come on, guys. This is adding up. And look at the flowers they chose. Man. Has anyone seen this? Look at the flowers they chose to take the picture before. Let me get up the UN map. Here you go. Let me just see if you can see my screen. Fuck it, I've only made my way a small bit down through chat. I mean, this is why, yeah, you can see my screen. So let me go back, just give you a quick glance. There we go. We're not going to say that you have the chevron as well. Look at this. Again, there could be many different things going on. I think we're getting places here, though. Look at the layout of the leaf, encompassing. Again, turn this on its side. Can you see the dodo? Can you see the dodo? Let me save that, actually. I'll save that in a minute. Oh, shit. No, I didn't want to do that. No. Just have to have the flashback to a little bit of flashback to a dream I had yesterday as well. There you go. So just take a look at that. Let me save that. Okay. So yeah, so look at the flower here, right? And let me go back to just, well, look at the flowers here. These were chosen specifically, and Paul was chosen specifically to show the hidden hand, or fake Paul, fall. So here we go. Does Paul also represent a transition from reality, which is the real Paul, to a fake or fabricated reality, which is the fake Paul, because that's what we find ourselves in. It's completely fabricated reality. But these flowers that they chose, isn't that amazing? You have to admit that this is connecting dots on many levels. Look at the black and white checkerboard. Again, I mentioned the black and white checkerboard in association with the dodo. Just to reiterate, if the dodo is the map or the representation of the landmass layout since the inundation, then the dodo is a checkerboard or a chessboard dress, in the sense that over the North Pole center is the very center of the chessboard, and that grid-like or Cartesian-like coordinate system, that's 0, 0 in that system, at X marks the spot. And then, yeah, you have the grid-like and Cartesian coordinate system to map the real Earth, which is how it should be done. It's done on a local level. It's only when you get beyond countryside that you come into longitude and latitudes. All your local ordnance maps are grid-like or checkerboard patterns. And this is where you'll see all the checkerboard floors in the Masonic artwork. You'll never see it on the wall. Well, I'm not saying you'll never see it on the walls, but it's mostly associated with floors. And this represents the Earth. And again, that's what I say the dodo wears a checkerboard dress, because that's the system uses for it. It also represents the square of the Masonic square and compass. The compass represents the spherical coordinate system that are used for the track of the barrier, I guess is the best way to call it. The contour of the barrier, which the energies of the sun tree move around in a consistent and regular fashion. Well, now, one thing I will say, I have been saying for a while, that the sun's whatever, whenever I came to this idea about what the sun might be, I said that the sun's intensity has increased. You know, that's one thing is for certain. And, you know, I did point out last time that over the winter there, you had this enormously bright Venus for everyone. Everyone was commenting how that was the case, and the moon as well, and all the different stars. You know, you just had someone turned up the voltage, you know, in the adjustable setting, and everything was much brighter. Well, that's because the sun. You see, if these are all artifacts of the sun, then if the sun is turned up in frequency, then the rest of these things are as well. That's what we're seeing now. And it's even not, as I look out, it's not even dark time. You know, it's as I look at the clock, as I looked at, oh, fuck's sake. As I looked at the clock, I'm going to leave that there and save that page for later. That's fascinating. Fascinating. As I looked at the clock, it was 1:19, which is 9/11 backwards, and also it's 11, the 11th of the 7th, and now 7th is September 11th. So again, yeah, no coincidences. 42 has been popping up lately everywhere for me. Again, I went through a spell of all of this. There's different rules at play here on flat Earth. So I take all of these things to be significant. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that. What did I want to do? Oh yeah, just briefly. Just to show, I wish I could sort of rotate it in a different sense. Yeah, that'll do actually, that'll do. So let me just, and I'm sorry, I'll get on with things then. That was just a by the way. So thanks for that link. No nukes, and I know you're interested in this stuff as well. So that's what we're looking for then. And of course, 3 rings, you know, I don't know what that means, but I mean, all of these different things are open to interpretation. So at any stage, I'm just giving my interpretation, but I do expect to find a hidden hand now associated with, just as I pointed out with the Beatles there and Paul McCartney, the fake Paul McCartney, with the one with the hidden hand, and the flowers that they decided to take the picture within. Yeah, all pointing to the flat Earth. And yeah, the hidden hand, the North Center, back to the North Center, because back to the dodo in chapter 3, where the dodo hand emerges from underneath the wing in the North Center, which I say, if the dodo, and I've said this even before I realized this, I said the dodo representing the actual land mass layout on a flat Earth since the inundation, and the north wing, the wing representing the North Center. So I have said that beforehand. So that's where I see it. Everything points to hidden hands about the North Center, the reconstruction, I guess, the remembering of us all, and the repiecing, I guess, the Earth, the second coming, but the sun. Yeah, repairing the sun. So let me share this briefly for anyone who's lost in terms of the dodo flat Earth. You recognize that? Recognize that's the UN map. We have 33 segments with center segment 1, right smack bang in the north center. It's bigger than the rest and is isolated from the rest. And that's what I'm saying. There's a dome, there's a barrier over the north center, which is separate from the barrier over the rest of us. And I've already been through the Orlando Ferguson map to point out the contour, or generally the contour of the barrier. You know, it's on such a large scale that the numbers wouldn't make sense when we think about it on as a whole. But when we think about it locally, our sky is pretty high locally, and we have a good broad scope or expanse, especially as you go up, where perspective still applies, but it applies in a different sense. We think in terms of perspective, in terms of a few short miles on the ground, but as you go up, you know, thousands of miles, can be caught within our scope, our perspective. So different things apply. So yeah, just let me briefly go to this, and I'll go back to the chat then. Shit, I didn't get to read. So you can see here, look, just a quick outline. Let me do it in red, just in case you're not following. This is where we got the clue in the first place. But this is the land masses. What I decided to do was to, because I know that Ireland is surrounded by a continental shelf, for instance. So I'm thinking that most other countries are as well. So when you sort of drain the water, imagine draining all the water, because I believe there was an inundation. So at one point, it makes sense that the water would be lesser. So you can take away all of this area here, and you can join it. And let me just get a bigger. So you can take away all of this area and just fill it in. Same with all of these. You can just be general about it. You know what I mean? Just continental shelf, all that, etc. I'm not going to. Well, I'm not going to do it now. Do I need to do it? But you understand. So the point I'm trying to make in down here about Indonesia, will curve down, right? And the same here. You get a sort of a land bridge for the legs, and it will just come around here then in bumps and humps, which you actually see represented on the initial dodo, and then it comes around like this, and you can see that now. There you go. So hopefully that's clear enough. I mean, even the tail feathers here, look. But that's where that's coming from. And Australia is down here. But this is not correct. This is sort of beginner level, really. This is where the Gleason's map points to the dodo. This is what I'm saying. You have to go well beyond this. So this map isn't correct. I think, and the more I carry on now, I think the dodo map is correct. So what it's about is, and I spoke about this before, it's finding the correct land mass. And I think that's where the Mercator oblique projection might come in, thanks to Awake Souls and Event Skeptic. I haven't spoken to them or anything. And they're also two ostracized people on flat Earth. When I say also, I don't mean I'm ostracized, but yeah, I definitely do encounter a lot of flack. And not to say that I'm equivalent to them in any sense. They do put in a hell of a lot of hard work, but I think they are fatally flawed in terms of the Bible literalist stance they're taking. And I think they were fatally wrong in their map as well. And it's all built around the Bible. You know, it's built around the Book of Enoch. Well, the Book of Enoch was given to us as well, and especially in the times of the internet. So it was given to us. It's not going to be that simple. I don't think. I think you don't have to invoke magic, even though it's all magic really in one sense. You don't have to invoke magic in certain things. The sun behaves in a clockwork fashion. If we can understand a light energy against a mirrored, contoured, watery barrier, we can see, you know, that certain things will follow and will behave in a predictable manner, which is what we see about the luminaries. They are like clockwork, except there's something slightly askew, isn't there? And that's where I think the G. So yeah, I talked about the spherical coordinate system for the sky. So you have the G, and the Masonic square compass that represents the grid system, where east is east and west is west on flat Earth, and always has been. That's never changed. So yeah, so is the G in the center. So this is where the G comes in, and the movements of the sun, the tree spiraling. You have the letter G itself, capital G is like a 6, right? So 666 represents the G capital G. But if you think of the movements or strokes you have to do to make the capital G, you have a spiraling motion, a big circular motion, then you have a vertical motion, then you have a horizontal motion, right? So this is where the 666 comes in. It's just pointing out that you know about the three motions of the sun for me, which is encoded into the G, which is the seventh letter, which is an imposter, I guess. It was placed in the alphabet. Again, this is just pointing it out to us. So yeah, it's equivalent to the FFF, which is 666. It's all the same. Yeah, and that equates to the three separate movements of the sun. Again, just to give you an example of my thinking, and this is backed up by mythology as well. These stories are there about a floating island, and we're also talking about a massive whirlpool. Again, Jim, retired ship's navigator, a globe-earther to his death, but well, you know, he knows the truth now because he's back in the lands of the beyond. But I'm sure he knows the Earth is flat now and much more. But yeah, he said all the tides surge from the north, so that makes sense to me as well. Then you got millions and millions of tons of water going someplace and coming someplace on a consistent, regular fashion twice a day. So that sets up the idea of a whirlpool for me. So if you imagine, just even imagine your own, I don't know, sink, and you have something floating on the top. If you pull the plug on that sink, right, that thing floating will experience three motions. One will be a circular motion as it follows the swirling path, the gyrating path, the spiraling path, right? So that's the big sweep of the G. The vertical motion, the vertical stroke of the G is that item will drop vertically, right, as the water drains away. But the horizontal motion, and the horizontal motion of the G is that item will also drop horizontally as it moves closer to the epicenter, where everything has been sort of dragged down in its own sweet time. So when you have that sort of thing going consistently, yeah, this is the idea, I think. So yeah, let me get rid of that. Don't need the dodo anymore, but I hope you can see there is definitely a superficial resemblance to it. So this is where the idea stemmed from. This is what I reiterate. When Antonio Subras came in and made shit of the idea, he forgot, or he didn't know that we had already made shit of the idea. We already knew about the French cockerel. The French cockerel led us onto the dodo, or the Gleason's map led us onto the dodo. And yeah, so he made a fool of himself there again. And yeah, it's a step further. So I'm glad of tonight now, because I sort of ruled out option one, that the dodo was just to bring you to the Gleason's map, and then you could discard the dodo now. So I think it's further than that we have to go. So yeah, let me go back to chat, get rid of that. I'll stay on about another, I'll try to get a chapter read anyway, but maybe another half an hour, a bit more. Let me just go back to the chat and get through that. But thanks again for that link. That's well saved. And yeah, cheers, no nukes. Excellent link. So let me just quickly go through again. Chat, I have to really skip through now, so I won't read much of the comments. PC says, Evil Edna is a trans female to male. Listen, I'm not writing anything off. I don't know enough about the characters. One thing I do know is Chris is very non-animated, almost to a fault. Whereas Paper is sort of the opposite as well, especially these days. So I heard him briefly. I think I think it's Jeremy and Mark Taylor have a new what do you call it, hang up on, and it's just anyone who wasn't here last year. It was like a throwback to last year. So it's just exactly the same sort of stuff. I wouldn't be too bothered with that. But I did hear Paper Explanator showing up and being animated. So when you're playing two different characters, this is what you'll do, isn't it? To set people, not to set people off, you have to, not let people connect the two in one way. And so you'll present two different faces. Again, when Chris Effie came on to Jamie Brown's, he was talking like this. It was like a guy in who used to talk like that? Was it the guy in What Are You? Malcolm in the Middle, wasn't it? Someone like that, you know. So he was sort of talking like that, and I was going, "What the fuck, man?" I asked him the first time I was speaking to him after that. I mean, did you have some sort of breathing problem? No, no. He said I was a bit drunk. Right, that's likely story. So again, you're painting opposites. And I remember actually the first time I came across Millennium. It was a friend of Dell, and again, I haven't heard from Dell. If you're here, man, why don't you join in? But when I called out Millennium as an actor, and I just let you know briefly in the Google Hangout, not the Hangout itself, but just in our connection there. Yeah, when I reconnected, I just said I called out Millennium as an actor. When I reconnected, your what you call it was gone. Your stuff was gone from Google Hangouts. So I didn't know what's going on, Joe. Of course, you vouched for Millennium, and I didn't know him that well. But one thing I will say is that the first time I did encounter him, when we were talking, and I came on, and you were talking with him, he just said hello and suddenly left, and I didn't hear from him again. So I didn't know what was going on there. But now that I look back, I think about it. Well, I was dealing with Ritzler at the time. So, you know, if I was to hear, no matter what I was to hear, I might associate it too easily because it would have been too fresh. And maybe that's why he bowed out. So, yeah, all these tangled webs. What do you do with this wench? Ideally, nothing. You don't bother about these things anyway. But ideally, nothing. But if I was to give anyone a wrench, I'd give you a wrench, and especially people who don't like to use them and who are not asking for them. That's the ones I would be seeking out for. But as I reiterate again, I have no power over anybody. Neither do I view the wrenches as having any power, and they're pretty much only for the likes of, you know, troublemakers or just counts that come in. And let me just go through a bit quicker anyway. Counts that come in and they're just there to disrupt. So I'd say, how are you doing, Pure Matrix? This is going back probably ages, so none of you might be here to hear what I'm saying now, but that's fine. Kelly Hugo says, just to repeat the connection between Michael Jackson and the Dodo, right? Yeah, you know there is. There's a big connection between Michael Jackson and the Dodo, as there's also a big connection between Tom York and the Dodo. And the reason why I looked up Tom York and Radiohead and the Dodo and that connection was because I knew Radiohead had a connection to 9/11, and that show, that ritual, if you will, that symbolic non-event, was because, yeah, they had Kid A, an album out which I owned, and I did own. I put it away, but yeah, that was 2000. September 11, 2001, obviously, but came to realize that was Kid A was the soundtrack to the 102-minute movie that we were presented with. Pre-prepared it was. So it was presented to us as live, but it was pre-prepared, and Kid A was the soundtrack to it. You don't believe me? That's fine. You can research that yourself. Also look into where Radiohead were on 9/11. They're actually playing a gig, you know. And yeah, there's an interesting interviews on YouTube regarding that. So yeah, there was a definite connection all the way down to even my favorite song. If I had to say my favorite song, I'll sing it again. Well, I won't sing it. I'll sing a bit of it. White wine and sleeping pills help me get back to your arms. Cheap sex and sad films help me get where I belong. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. Stop always get burned. It's not like the movies. They fed us on little white lies. I think you're crazy. Maybe I think you're crazy. Maybe. And this is a verse that wasn't added in, but I think it says a lot as well. Beautiful angels torn apart at birth. Limbless and lifeless, I hardly recognize you. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. I will see you in the next life. Beautiful song, but song 10. So there's your 9/11. There's your 9/11. There's your 10, 9, 10, 11. Song 10, that was called. The last song, movie, picture, motion picture soundtrack. They're telling you there. And there's your 10. We're divided. There's the last verse as well. So that's why they left out the last verse. Beautiful. So let me just read that. Let me just go through that again. Yeah. White wine and sleeping pills. White wine and sleeping pills. Help me get back to your arms. Cheap sex and sad films. Help me get where I belong. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. Stop sending letters. No. Yeah. Letters always get burned. It's not like the movies. They fed us on little white lies. Little white lies, right? White rabbit, again, is what I'm thinking there. But of course, this is what it all is. Little white lies. Yeah. Third. Yeah. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. And then beautiful angels. This is the verse that was left out. So this was never on the albums. And I went to YouTube and heard the full version. So I think this was left out on purpose. So beautiful angels torn apart at birth, which is 1-0 division. You have the binary code. So this is where song 10 comes in, and this is where the division comes in. So we're jumping over the division from 9 to 11. Beautiful angels, torn apart at birth, limbless and lifeless. I hardly recognize you. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. How many times have we been called crazy? Yeah, I will see you in the next life. So yeah, that's my connection there. Anyway, that's just a by the way. So there's my 10 filled in. I was looking for the 10 in 9/11. I only found it recently as well with the binary code, the 1 to 0. This is the division. This is the fall. So yeah, that's the 9/11. So yeah, once I knew that they were insiders. So just in case anyone doesn't understand, just as you take the Dark Side of the Moon and the Wizard of Oz and play them side by side, they seem to. I never saw this one myself, but I take the word. I was never into Pink Floyd really, but I did see the movie Wizard of Oz. But they seem to sync perfectly, and now you can say that that's grand because the Dark Side of the Moon. That's another band now. Maybe I steered away from on purpose, subconsciously or whatever. But I believe that they would have a lot encoded now in the terms that I'm thinking about. But yeah, that's understandable because the movie came out first back in the 40s or whatever, and then Pink Floyd with the album. So you could have just been sitting down watching that and playing it over. But here's the thing with Kid A and 9/11. Kid A, the album came out in 2000, and 9/11 didn't come out in 2001. So for that to line up there's more to it than that. So therefore you have to rethink everything. So yeah, that ties in separately to knowing that the movie presented to us on the day as live was a prefabricated production. So when I went looking into the Dodo, I typed in Radiohead in the Dodo, and lo and behold, up comes this connection, which I couldn't believe. As a young child, Tom's brother had decided to call him, as his nickname, Dodo. So amazing, and also thrown in the statement was that he was known as Salamander in school. And I was going, Salamander? What? Why would... So I can understand the Dodo, because I'd found different connections. I can understand the Dodo. Why Salamander, though? Well, then I thought about it. A salamander sacrifices a limb for the sake of the greater core. Well, you could almost say that this is what's happened with the inundation and the destruction of the trees, Certain things were sacrificed, but the core survived. The core is the North Center, and we're living in the aftermath. So that was the connection there, where I was thinking in terms of salamander. There's also a lizard connection there in the sense as well, and that's pertinent in a different manner. So that's where some of these thoughts are coming from anyway. So it's pretty intricate, isn't it? I guess when I think about it. So Pure Matrix is here. How you doing, Pure Matrix? Hope you're well. I'm going well back as well. So again, you're probably all gone. So because you're saying elaborate more in the hidden hand, flat earth. Well, I've just done it there, haven't I? So I hope you've yeah, there's a very interesting thing as well in Central Park about John Lennon, and I have that saved somewhere, but it's about imagine. I'm a genie. And again, the all-seeing eye, all-seeing me, Ice Age. Oh gosh, I'm going way back. So I'll just quickly go forward then. Multi-time, how you doing? Neil is here again. Yeah, how you doing? Ooh, I see I could get, Tom says, Dodo's for sale at 420. That's when that thought hit me. When that thought hit me, Tom, it tied in so much. So I'm still stuck on that for the minute. Nathan Oakley is here. How you doing, Nathan? Jamie Brown, I mentioned that. Okay. Yeah. I'll just quickly go down through. Well, I better say hello to Walter Gannon. How you doing? Never came across you before, so Paul McCartney is still imposter. Yeah, Pure Matrix he is, but I think it was made clear to us as well. They gave us the conspiracy, so there's obviously a different layer to it. So this is where we're thinking here. Now Paul McCartney can be seen in a different light, and just that hidden hand connection, just that connection that Noah Nukes gave me as well in that picture, that very picture to come up with the laurel leaves and the hidden hand in Paul. There's a definite connection here, and I think we're on the right tracks, no doubt. So James says, look up hidden hand dialogue with self-proclaimed. I heard that before as well, didn't I? The hidden hand. I think he came on some of the conspiracy sites and started giving away some information. I'll definitely look that up. Well, maybe I won't. I'm shit at sort of sitting down. I guess maybe that's a good way in a sense. Just let it come to you. Let it all. See, I don't like to get too in depth anymore. It's like the dodo in the story of Alice in Wonderland. It's very easy to skip over, and this is the way it has to be. But once you have a little key, now, see, this is the big thing now. So hear me out. Once you have a bigger key, then everything seems to fit a lot deeper, So I think that even though the hidden hand is a well-known sign, that I think the interpretation of it isn't even known to everyone within the Masons. Maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. It's definitely known to a good few, but okay, right. Mick, I don't. Okay, Mick, I don't know if you're here or not. So you're gonna. Why is it that Peter has to smoke in secret? I don't have to smoke in secret. It's just a window over there. I don't smoke inside. So I smoke at the window. So I just go over to the window. What do you think I'm doing? Smoking a joint. I roll up a joint and show it to you, for God's sake. So Mick, I don't really like this the way you're carrying out yourself here, man. I really don't. And maybe you'd be more better off suited to talking to the likes of Ali. That wouldn't affect me very much. I'm not asking you to go, but I mean, this attitude, man, it sort of stinks to me anyway. Again, you don't have to be here. I don't have to try and tick you off or rub you up the wrong way or anything like that. So you're probably gone anyway, which is fine. Okay, I don't. Pete had a hard time as a child. The other kids used to push him around and call him lazy. That's probably why they stole his wheelchair. This is not funny or relevant to me, whether you're relating that to somebody else, but I don't. Yeah. You're obviously taking no heed, Mick, so. It's gone buffet. So thanks for that, James. Hidden hand dialogue with self-proclaimed Illuminati insider. Right, so the idea is not to get too involved, too deep into stuff anymore, because I did do that at one stage. So I'm thinking in a big way that we all know the truth via one form or another. And, it's waiting for us. Felix. How you doing, Felix? Are you here because you heard about the hidden hand? What do you think about the hidden hand, Felix? I had to call you out as an actress, Felix, because of course, you are privy to inside information, but it was never any judgment on the character, but it did get heated at times, but we sort of came over that. But yeah, I understand that these are greater secrets to be disclosed, and I think people are privy to these secrets, so if you're not here for that, well, I'm still glad to see you here. And when you say such a deep thinker, you probably put a H in there where you didn't mean to. A pretty deep thinker, all right. So I just skipped straight to the end, so I don't know what's happening before that. That was a great connection with Radiohead, though, wasn't it? That's an absolutely profound connection, the way I see it anyway. So make you say goodnight. Well, all right, man. If I offended you, keep putting a wrench up there as well. I wouldn't be comfortable giving you a wrench, man, to be honest. Just in terms of what, there's just this, I'm detecting this hint of something inside in you, in your comments and all this. And again, yeah, I think you're sort of more suited to Ali B's type of camp than my camp. So we're going to have problems. We're going to have difficulties. So I wouldn't worry about the wrench too much anyway. But I definitely wouldn't be inclined to wrench you, man, if that's what you're trying to constantly hint at. But I'm sure you're not going to take that personally. Or maybe you will. Doesn't matter to me if you do or not, really, because it's not personal. I'm just again, we know the story here. So yeah, great. How are you doing, Felix? We haven't seen you in a long time, and I hope you're well. Of course, I know you're still around. Oh yeah, sorry. So Twidwit, how you doing, Twidwit? Yeah, I was reading back up. I got caught in a few comments, but thankfully, again, there's some great information that's turned up with that hidden hand reference. Also, the hidden hand from the Illuminati. Yeah, So when I'm looking for that, when I look at the hidden hand now, that's exactly what I see. It's the North Pole center, and everything that entails has been referenced. So that's the way I see it. Yeah, if you just type in, Felix, if you type in Radiohead Kid A and 9/11, now the guy, and it's around a few places, but the guy doesn't know anything about, and I'm sure you know about 9/11 as well, Felix, and most people do at this stage. Definitely all the insiders and actors do, So, yeah, the guy himself, I don't think he was taking this into consideration. But yeah, that's the connection. And again, it's amazing. That song, I didn't even think about that till tonight. Song 10, motion picture soundtrack. But there's your 10. There's your 10 in the 9 and 11, 9, 10, and 11. And even the words and the lyrics themselves, I think, are pointing that way. Whereas 1 and 0 is about division. And we're overcoming that. 9, I think, refers to the 6, Felix, which is the motion of the sun, which is since the aftermath of destruction. So, yeah, we're jumping back to a time of repair, remembering, if you will. Trees have members, don't they? So, yeah, riddle me this. I don't think I've said hello. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining in, man. Oh, you're still here, Mick. Okay, you say the dodo. Yeah, I read that. Excuse me. The dodo uses gizzard stones to help digest its food. Millennium made that connection, and he already sent it to me anyway, and he talked about the Masonic stones, right, which is thought to have included fruits, and its main habitat is believed to have been the woods in the drier coastal areas of Mauritius. Mauritius is known as the honeymoon island, right? I think Mauritius has its significance itself. It could either be Tupac Island, where all the retired go to, or it could be some sort of a gateway. And I'll have to definitely look into that. Honeymoon Island is in reference to Genesis, or fall as well. And I heard that reference made in a certain video that I mentioned the last time as well. Or fall relates to, yeah, they talk about the orgasm being, and I mean, it sounds funny, doesn't it? But when you think about it, the orgasm about representing, or literally being the fall of man. So, I mean, it's your vital bodily fluids, and to part with your vital bodily fluids is criminal, if you will. It's not needed to do. You don't need to do that in order to father a child. And these are the fluids that are imbued with our divinity, I suppose. So that video. Let me just get that just for reference to anyone who might be wondering what I'm talking about. I'll actually post that. Yeah, it's called A Secret Gate to Eden. And I'm not sure who posted that or put me onto that. I think it might have been we were awake once. I can't keep that name isn't slipping off the tongue. We were okay, there it is. Yeah, let me post that. I'll just get rid of a few links here. Here we go. So the secret North Pole. If it the secret North Pole was it? The Secret Gate to Eden. At the very start of it, they talk about, they mentioned the honeymoon. Mauritius is the honeymoon island. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it could be Eden. Who knows? I mean, but I think it might be a gateway of some sort, or at least there's something very significant about it. And it was picked purposefully. I'd like to look into the story of Saint Maurice as well, just to see if there's any other clues with that one. Right. So that's a very interesting connection. So where was I with that now? Oh yeah, that was the honeymoon and the orgasm. How that part and parcel of the fall of man. So I've been talking about hanging on. I don't know how it works with females, Felix or Caliuga. I'm not sure how it works with females, but I'm thinking that's how it works with males anyway. You hang on to your vital bodily fluids. I talked about Jesus earlier on in the story that was given. Of course, he was celibate within the 4 Gospels, and he received his enlightenment after going into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and fasting. So again, I think this is telling us about the quick, fast way to achieve enlightenment. I mean, would we do it? Would we do it? I think you'd have to have that sort of knowledge, first of all, that this is really what it was about. I think you might do it then after that. So yeah, I take it these are all pointers to us. So yeah, and just let me mention about the dodo tree. I mentioned that as well. The dodo tree. The dodo tree was said to have gone extinct as well because the dodo, and maybe it's in connection with these fruits as well, the gizzard stones. It's totally or whatever. That because the dodo wasn't around to spread the seeds of the dodo tree itself died out. So again, it's pictured in a capture in 1598, a Dutch capture, and it's a weird looking thing. Let me get that up actually. Where's that? Let me just get that up briefly just to show you. So again, this is all too much to be true. So if there's a story being spun and woven, where did I find that? Now that was, here we go. So let me just quickly share my screen. Here we go. This is the name of a blog spot as well, the Dodo Tree. But I was looking it up in terms of William Shakespeare, and I was amazed to find the connection here as well. Yeah, it's a fabricated character. But there is some connections between the dodo. But I just wanted to bring your attention to the dodo comes alive. Here's the picture. So here we see. Yeah, that'll do. Here we see, let me just see that that's coming through. Yeah, that's cool. So here we see the dodo. The turtle pictured 1, the tree picture 2. No, the dodo picture 2, isn't it? The tree picture 3. Doesn't that tie a whole hell of a lot together there doesn't it, in one sense? I wonder what number 13 is actually. I should have a better look to that. But if we take the turtle, the dodo was found with the giant turtle representative of the oceans, the waters beyond. Here we have the tree. Look at the strange manner of tree. This tree, it was said to have gone extinct because the dodo wasn't around to eat the nuts and shit out the parts elsewhere. Also, a peculiarity about the dodo, if it was peculiar to this island for generations, thousands upon years, you would definitely find many different full intact dodo. If it had no enemies as well, it would just die naturally on the ground and its bones collapse into one piece, you know what I mean? You would definitely find a sample, a complete and whole sample. But again, because you're told you're not, there's something else interwoven into the narrative. But as I mentioned here, the sun, this is almost a sun. Look at how bright it is. It's almost like a lesser sun. The tree, all stemming from the tree. If you count up the little notches here, you get to 12 at the top and then 13. But yeah, I almost describe this as and that has to be tree, doesn't it? Number 3. So yeah, I almost describe this as a sun and a lesser sun, and the sun and the moon, which is Tower 1 and Tower 2, 9/11. But yeah, one is part and parcel of the other. But yeah, those 3 connections alone tell a whole big story here. But the tree going extinct as well, you know, there's something wrong with this narrative, and there's more to it. There's more to the dodo story. So don't be a dodo, and work your way through it. What's this up here, number 8? Look at that. Oh, I bet this picture is very interesting indeed. That looks like some sort of a baby boy bat or something. But yeah, I often said as well, the Dutch people from Holland, have a role to play in all of this. And so sort of a silent, hidden hand role, as the Spanish do as well. So yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So again, they're all being connected, and slowly but surely the dots are joining, I think. So Felix says, yeah, I haven't seen Felix. I know Dave High has been doing a little bit on the dodo as well, but yeah, we were looking at it a few weeks ago and we started looking into it. Lots of information found since then. I haven't put anything together, put out a video or anything, but I've talked about a lot of it just on and off in the little hangouts I've been doing here. So talk to somebody. Okay, sure, yeah, Felix. Media prepared 9/11. Well, sure, let you know, don't they? They let you know. And again, this isn't a great mystery to be solved. They set their stall out first of all, and it's an inevitable path that you must go down. I think I was going to say the dodo path, the 9/11 fakery path. If you continue on with it, if you get stuck in Judy Wood or something like that, which Macho Hobry was. So I see the story now, Math, of course. So that's cool. But yeah, it's all laid out for you. And yeah, I suppose you have to be of a certain mindset to sort of follow what I'm saying here anyway. You have to be of a certain sort of understanding. When I talk about 9/11 fakery, I don't do that lightly, for God's sake. I do that because all the evidence points you that way in every sense. So that's what you got to go with. And yeah, I went and left that. So, okay, Mick, you say, well, I know you are, Mick, but I think there's more to it than that. You say I'm a piss taker and I look at the world with sarcasm. Well, I do. I know you do that, but I get the feeling there's a little bit more to it than that as well. I mean, why can't you? Okay, well, you can add something to the conversation if you want to. Add a thought, or ask a question or something. It always seems to be loaded with, yeah, just negative type stuff or sarcastic, load-ridden stuff, which is fine, I guess. But what else are you expecting me to react then? Anyway, what do I think of the energy orgone? Well, I haven't thought about that too much, Felix, but now that I think of the daylight, as I said, we're under this magnetic field, electromagnetic field, holding back the barrier, equal and opposite force down on top of us. It's going to be much stronger, or again, that's going to be a pretty strong force, but that force will permeate down to ground level, depending on, and below. I think, again, you're going to find that null point. I keep referencing that video Nick Fouquet Word put up, where they had the magnetic field generated and it threw a frog and strawberries in, and immediately everything went to the center. So I think that's what's happening here as well. So if we could dig a hole 20, maybe 10, 15, 20 miles down, jump into it, then we'd reach the null point. So when they tell us about gravity being a pulling force, no, if we flip that, it's the electromagnetic force that's pushing down upon us. And if you imagine those trees intact, not just at the north center, but around the center poles as well, a central equator, not that there is an equator as such, but we can see that that would be a supporting pillars, I guess, to hold back the barrier, and anything living underneath the canopies of these trees wouldn't be affected by that field, because it was evenly supported around. So with this destruction, this supposing equal and opposite force of the magnetic field is down on top of us. So if we can find a way of vibrating anything, ourselves or anything else within that within that field, you can neutralize it. So what I think light is, when the sun's energy is introduced into this magnetic field, it excites the particulates or whatever, and also you have water present everywhere. So this is what light is. So what do you call it? Luminescence. So are we seeing this on a sort of a microscopic scale? Is this what light actually is? Yeah, I like that thought. Orgone. What does it do actually? What is it? What is it? I could see it. Yeah, I could see it just sending up charged particles of some sort and disrupting the chemtrails or whatever sort of ionization is going on. That's what I see chemtrails as being. Again, I think the sun has increased in frequency, and they're not there. Yeah, it's not. Again, if something is different and out of the normal, out of the ordinary for us, we have to sort of take a step back and ask, first of all, well, what is normal conditions? So again, if the sun is a broken system, then the sun itself is broken as an effect of. We can see that as well. It's Earth is close to paradise, but it's not quite paradise, is it? You have extreme areas under extreme conditions. So yeah, if you imagine the chemtrails to be some sort of, so they know the sun has increased. And this is what I talked about earlier on. We noticed the brighter sky, the clear Venus. It was so brilliant and bright last year that makes sense to me. If the sun has increased in frequency, if you turn up the light bulb, then anything associated with the light bulb, which is everything else, the moon, the stars, the planets, all associated with the sun, the face of the sun, then they're gonna increase in luminosity as well. So this is what I think we see. And even now, again, as I look out, well, yeah. It's not a pitch black sky. It's like a dark blue, and I know in another hour and a half it'll start to get bright again. So this is even another step up on maybe normal summers. I don't know. So I definitely do think it's increasing. So I don't know whether Oregon itself sends up some sort of charged particles which disperse and counteract the chemtrails. Some sort of a negatively charged or positively charged meeting negatively charged or something like that. That's pretty much something the way I'd see it, but I don't know enough about it. Yeah. What do you think yourself on that, Felix? And does it work? And I mean, if it does work, do we want it to work? I don't know. I remember having this small bit of discussion with you before and regarding the trees dying. Well, they're very capable, aren't they? Trees will react to environmental conditions and maybe they'll go into hibernation or they'll sacrifice something in the process of adapting to new conditions. And I think, though, when they do adapt to these new conditions, they'll be perfect. So that's sort of a little more positive bent I take on these things. But I know there's a lot to be fretful and fearful about, isn't there? Especially when we don't understand where everything is coming from or where potentially everything is going to. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I should look into it a bit more, but I'm sure it must have to do with with particle charging, but I'm not sure. That was an interesting one about let me just say, Felix, you say ground parrots have gone extinct from New Zealand. I wonder how much natural foliage has gone with them also. Oh, well, I suppose the whole face of the earth is changing, and again, what is natural, what is real, what was, and what is to come. I mean, I think we don't know that. So, what the correction I was going to make with the parrot was, with the dodo was featured a lorry bird. And I was wondering what a lorry bird was. Now, I had been saying about the dodo. The dodo is the real map. If you have the Gleason's map up on your wall, I think you're putting a picture up to everyone to say, you are Je suis dodo. I am a dodo. Like in Je suis Charlie, I'm a fool, because you're just following the crowd and there's more to the story than what you think. So I think that's the indication there. But yeah, in Alice in Wonderland with the lorry bird, and one thing I noticed with the dodo was in the official pictures and posters anyway, right where I think Australia should be in regards to the dodo, there's always this parrot pictured there. So it's exactly the same spot where I think Australia should be located, and it is included in official representations of the dodo. Well, when I heard about the lorry, and we were just reading through chapter 3, and I looked it up, and the lorry was an Australasian parrot. So again, that just I said, wow, I didn't know what the lorry was, but I also knew that the parrot was put in specifically in a fixed place in relation to the dodo in the few official sort of portraits or representations I've seen. So I took that to be significant. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? Who knows what is true of anything that they're telling us? And I guess it's hard for me to get passionate about grass. Of course, and to see anything die is and this was needlessly is a horror. But I never knew. I never knew the ground parrot existed in New Zealand. So the fact that it went extinct, it's just new information to me. So um, so Mick, you're still here. Just I look up on YouTube, amazing high voltage water bridge, water tread that defies gravity, backs up your theory. Nice, nice. I will do that. I'll make a link of that or a note of that, and do that if I think about it. I have so many links. I have so many links that I haven't gone near. I'm mostly connected with the dodo and 420 and that sort of stuff, but I will look that up. When you think about lightning as well, yeah, we can look at everything differently now. So yeah, that's the way I see light now. We're in the midst of an electromagnetic field never meant for us. That's where water, everything sort of finds its level, or trying to find its null point. That's where clouds, obviously there's a density difference between solid objects and I guess water vapor. So that's where it finds its null point within this all prevailing ether or oppressive electromagnetic force. And there's where we get the cloud layer, and yeah, the water takes on its familiar form, and you can even see it how it went bush up. You're exciting these particles, so you get a sort of a foamy cloud build up as we're accustomed to seeing. So hey man, if you are all right, listen. That's just the impression I was getting, Mick, that you were sort of you taking the piss with everything I was sort of saying. And if you are genuinely, honestly sorry, I mean, that's cool. And I mean, if you didn't it in the first place, then I suppose you have anything to apologize for if I took it up in the wrong place. So yeah, okay, man, I accept that. And look, I think there are definitely lots of questions that can be answered, and we all have good brains here. The way I see it, there'd be no harm in people contributing to it, and you don't have to, of course, as well. That's down to the individual. But yeah, okay, Mick, let's move on. Okay, man. Okay. Again, that's why, and I don't like wrenches as well, in the sense that one man's humor is another man's insult, and the last thing you want to do is to wrong somebody. So if someone means something as a humorous jab or whatever, and you take it sort of in an offensive manner, well, you don't want to really be doing that. So I certainly do have a sense of humor, but as I said, I guess yeah, okay, let's move on, man. Let's rebuild. Yeah, so I'm very happy with the connections for tonight. I really am. This has been a lot of good connections tonight. And the hidden hand, don't know what you feel about that, Felix. Are you aware of that? I wonder. Maybe, yeah, very possibly, Felix. You're a very bright girl, of course. And yeah, that's a good guess for me now, and especially with all the little supporting pieces of evidence. I look forward to going through that link that Nonuke's presented and seeing where that takes us. So it's another thing I have to do, look up Charles Dodgson's place of birth, or is there anything peculiar about that? And maybe, depending on any information garnered from that, an anagram of that or something might be. I'm just saying, in the bigger sense, is the dodo an actual treasure map? I mean, is there an entrance that you have to work out to where to go. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't have a clue if you didn't have some sort of a fixed pathway to that. So if Charles Dodo Dodgson was so prominent and he was a made-up figure, then maybe a clue in terms of where he was born or where he lived will give us a clue where we might go and need to go in Greenland or something like that. So that's just a wild guess there. But I do know that the capital of New Greenland is said to be New UK, which is our Nuke UK, and you break that down, you get New UK. So if there was, let's say, a town in northern Greenland, and it turned out to be an anagram of a town that Charles Lewis Carl Dodgson lived, well, that would be too much wouldn't it be too much to bear, wouldn't it, really? So I look forward to just maybe investigating that a little bit more. But I should think that anywhere, any venture towards the North Centre, you need to have some sort of destination in mind, and a good reason for picking that. Okay. Yeah, so what I'll do then, I'll head off after this. Again, I'm very, 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 very happy with this now. And is that what the could be point is? Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense? Even all of these artificial or fabricated historical figures or real figures, all sharing in this secret that Earth, obviously they know Earth is flat and stationary, but they know the history, they know whatever has happened, and they know about the rebuilding. So this hidden hand is always working behind the scenes towards this rebuilding, and the date has been set for it. 1598 to 2018 will give you 420 years. Is there a specific date in 2020? It's already set the way I see it. So someone uncovering it or someone saying it is not going to change it. They're not going to say, let's say, well, fuck me, that guy in Ireland is after accidentally landing on the date. We're going to change it to like 2 months later on. I don't think that's how it works, you know. I think as the date approaches, it'll all be a lot closer in terms of clues. So yeah, 420. Could it be April 20th? April 20th, 2018. Definitely 420 years from when it said the dodo was discovered to 2018. And is this what the hidden hand has been working for and working towards all along, just being privy to the greater story? And there always is a greater story. And yeah, thank you, Felix. You say there's something to the number 5. I remembered when you said that before. I always thought there was something to the number 4, but you talk about that being more associated with closure and with death almost. So number 5 makes sense. I have been bearing that in mind. So listen, just to finish off, it'll take me 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm going to read one more chapter, Alice in Wonderland, get through it in about 10 minutes, and I'm going to save the last chapter then for next time. Actually, the chapter 10 I have to make it to. Let me just see. Yeah, so chapter 9 we just went to with the mock turtle story. I have to look. I'm going to have to read all this again now in a new light. So let me do that. And we can call it a day. To share my screen. Okay, lovely. So chapter 10, the lobster quadrille. The mock turtle sighed deeply and drew the back of one flipper across his eyes. He looked at Alice and tried to speak, but for a minute or two sobs choked his voice. I'm going to have to go back and look at the turtles as well, the turtle story. Same as if he had a bone in his throat, said the griffin, and it set to work shaking him and punching him in the back. At last the mock turtle recovered his voice, and with tears streaming down his cheeks, he went on again. Oh, here we go. I'd like to be under the sea with a How did that? I just want to see how that goes. Actually, I'd like to be. I'd like to be. To be. Oh, there we had it there. Under the sea. Oh, here we go. The Beatles lyrics. Isn't it interesting? Octopus's garden. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. He let us in, knows where we've been in his octopus's garden in the shade. Okay, excellent. I'm going to save that as well. Octopus, I already mentioned, I equated that to a spider. So if you imagine the octopus as the north, over the north center, that's that separate dome. And then you have the octopus's legs splaying out lower at the north, higher at the center, and lower again at the peripherals. That represents the spider or the ball, the two dome system since the destruction of the tree. So I'll be looking in here in the garden. Of course, he mentions the garden and the shade. Shade of what? The shade of a tree. That's going into my something to look at again. So anyway, sorry, let me get back. And Felix, you might be able to, without me looking it up, give me any interesting factoid you might know about the griffin. But anyway, yeah, here we go. You may not have lived much under the sea. I haven't, said Alice. And perhaps you were never even introduced to a lobster. Alice began to say, I once tasted, but checked herself hastily and said, no, never. So you can have no idea what a delightful thing a lobster quadrille is. No, indeed, said Alice. What sort of a dance is it? Why, said the Gryphon, you first form into a line along the seashore. 2 lines, cried the Mock Turtle, seals, turtles, salmon, and so on. Then, when you've cleared all the jellyfish out of the way, that generally takes some time, interrupted the Gryphon. You advance twice, each with a lobster as a partner, cried the Gryphon. Of course, the Mock Turtle said, advance twice, set to partners. Change lobsters and retire in same order, continued the Gryphon. Then, the Mock Turtle went on, you throw the lobsters, shouted the Gryphon with a bound into the air. As far out to sea as you can. Swim after them, screamed the Gryphon. Back to land again. And that's all the first figure, said the Mock Turtle, suddenly dropping his voice, and the 2 creatures, who had been jumping about like mad things all this time, sat down again very sadly and quietly and looked at Alice. It must be a very pretty dance, said Alice timidly. Would you like to see a little of it, said the Mock Turtle. Very much indeed, said Alice. Come, let's try the first figure, said the Mock Turtle to the Gryphon. We can do without lobsters, you know. Which shall sing? Oh, you sing, said the Gryphon. I've forgotten the words. So they began solemnly dancing around and round Alice, every now and then treading on her toes when they passed too close, and waving their forepaws to mark the time, while the Mock Turtle sang this very slowly and sadly. Will you walk a little faster, said a whiting to a snail. I'm just going along here. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. Now, I started off good and everything, didn't I? See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance. They're all waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? Okay. Oh, well, I'm not. Is this part of the singing as well? Okay, I don't know. I don't think it is. You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us with the lobsters out to sea. Okay, yeah, this is better. But the snail replied, too far, and gave a look askance. Said he thanked the whiting kindly, but he would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not join the dance. Okay. What matters it how far we go, his scaly friend replied. There is another shore, you know, upon the other side. The further off from England, the nearer is to France. Then turn not pale, beloved snail, but come and join the dance. Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Okay, on the last tune there, but will you, won't you? I think I could make up a little bit of a tune for that actually. Now I'm getting the gist of what's going on. But anyway, will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? Okay, I'm sure this is again every word is representative of something, so everything is there to be decoded. A lobster quadrille, mock turtle soup. What is it? What lobster quadrille? I probably would have looked this up before as well when I was trying to figure it out, but it's oh, again, yeah. It's probably a dish of some sort, isn't it? So the big play on words, and they've turned it into a dance. So I'll have to look into that again. Anyway, let me get back. Thank you. It's a very interesting dance to watch, said Alice, feeling very glad that it was over at last. And I do so like the curious song about the whiting. Oh, as to the whiting, said the mock turtle, well, you've seen them, of course. Yes, said Alice. I've often seen them at She checked herself hastily. I don't know where din may be, said the mock turtle. But if you've seen them so often, of course you know what they're like. I believe so, Alice replied thoughtfully. They have their tails in their mouths, and they're all over crumbs. You're wrong about the crumbs, said the mock turtle. Crumbs would all wash off in the sea, but they have their tails in their mouths, and the reason is, here the mock turtle yawned and shut his eyes. Tell her about the reason and all that, he said to the griffin. The reason is, said the griffin, that they would go with the lobsters to the dance, so they got thrown out to sea. So they had to fall a long way. So they got their tails fast in their mouths, so they couldn't get them out again. That's all. Thank you, said Alice. It's very interesting. I never knew so much about a whiting before. I can tell you more than that if you like, said the griffin. Do you know why it's called a whiting? I never thought about it, said Alice. Why? It does the boots and shoes. The griffin replied very solemnly. Alice was thoroughly puzzled. Does the boots and shoes, she repeated in a wondering tone. Why, what are your shoes done with, said the griffin. I mean, what makes them so shiny? Alice looked down at them and considered a little before she gave her answer. They're done with blacking, I believe. So it's like down to Wonderland, you know, everything has multiple meanings, and black is white, up is down. So boots and shoes under the sea, the griffin went on in a deep voice, are done with a whiting. Now you know. What are they made of? Alice asked in a tone of great curiosity. Soles and eels, of course. Again, all this is telling you it's all about the play on words. And if you go into, I'll post that link again, Felix, for you. Let me, because you mightn't have seen that link. Let me post that for you. It's the solution to Sergeant Pepper's. There we go. I'll post that link for you just in case you want to have a read of that. Maybe you've been through it already before. But yeah, in there, of course, if you go through that, being able to appreciate puns and wordplay and interchangeability is all a fundamental part of the solution. So have a look at that at your own time. So let me continue. So here we have soles and eels instead of soles and heels. Okay. Oh yeah, so what are they made of? Alice said in a tone of great curiosity. Soles and eels, of course, the griffin replied rather impatiently. Any shrimp could have told you that. If I'd been to Whiting, said Alice, whose thoughts were still running on the song, I'd have said to the porpoise, keep back, please. We don't want you with this. They were obliged to have him with them. The mock turtle said, no wise fish would go anywhere without a porpoise. So again, porpoise, it's all about play on words. And they're telling you that. So when you come across, you sort of have to have an open mind. So when you do hear a certain word, think of its phonic equivalent, and maybe, you know, mix and match, and you might get a little bit more sense. But that'll make a bit more sense as well when you go through if you go through the Solution to Sergeant Pepper's. So let me get this going. Yeah, so no fish would go anywhere without a porpoise. Wouldn't it really? Said Alice in a tone of great surprise. Of course not, said the Mock Turtle. Why, if a fish came to me and told me he was going on a journey, I should say, with what purpose? Don't you mean purpose? Said Alice. I mean what I say, the Mock Turtle said in an offended tone, and the Gryphon added, Come, let's hear some of your adventures. I could tell you my adventures beginning from this morning, said Alice a little timidly. So remember, Felix, Alice is all of us. All of us are down the rabbit hole where we find ourselves now. And I guess this is what we're coming out of. One thing we do notice is Alice approaches every new situation in all its high strangeness with equal, as I say, courage, but there's certainly no fear in her anyway, and she knows what's what. She knows what's what, and she sticks to her guns, you know. But I could tell you my adventures beginning from this morning, said Alice a little timidly, but it's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. Well, we were all different. All of us were different yesterday before the destruction, before the dodo, if you will. So I think that's what Alice is referencing yesterday. And then, of course, you have the Beatles song, Yesterday. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. I think I called one of the Hangouts yesterday. I sang that. Yeah, I did. And I made some interesting observations as well. Need to find a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. So it is yesterday. It's not just a man and telling the old familiar story of a lost love and remembering back to better times. No, it's a greater story of all of us, Alice, going back to yesterday when there were greater times, you know, undivided times. So anyway, explain all that, said the Mock Turtle. No, the adventure first, said the Gryphon in a patient tone. Explanations take such a dreadful time. So Alice began telling them her adventures from the time when she first saw the white rabbit. She was nervous about it just at first. The two creatures got so close to her, one on each side, and opened their eyes and mouths so very wide. But she gained courage as she went on. Her listeners were patiently quiet till she got to the part about her repeating, "You are old, Father William," to the caterpillar, and the words are all coming out differently. And then the Mock Turtle drew a long breath and said, "That's very curious." Curious as it can be, said the Gryphon. It all came different, the Mock Turtle repeated thoughtfully. I should like to hear her try and repeat something now. Tell her to begin. He looked at the Gryphon as if he thought it had some kind of authority over Alice. Stand up and repeat. 'Tis the voice of the sluggard, said the Gryphon. How do creatures order one about and make one repeat lessons, thought Alice. I might as well be at school for once. However, she got up and began to repeat it, but her head was so full of the lobster quadrille that she hardly knew what she was saying, and the words came out very queer indeed. So this seems to be a common theme then as well. It's Alice repeating something that she thought she knew by heart, by rote, pretty well, but everything seems to come out and be contorted or disassociated from a previous sort of certainty, as previous knowing, I guess. And again, I think this is all representative of the confounded condition we find ourselves in as mankind as a whole, you know, after the sharp shock that led to the inundation. So, yeah. "'Tis the voice of the lobster," I heard him declare. "You have baked me too brown, I must sugar my hair. As a duck with its eyelids, so he with his nose trims his belt and his buttons and turns out his toes." "That's different from what I used to say when I was a child," said the Gryphon. "Well, I never heard it before," said the Mock Turtle, "but it sounds uncommon nonsense." Alice said nothing. She had sat down with her face in her hands, wondering if anything would ever happen in an actual way again. "I should like to have it explained," said the Mock Turtle. "She can't explain it," said the Gryphon hastily. "Go on with the next verse." "But how toes," the Mock Turtle persisted. "How could he turn them out with his nose, you know?" "It's the first position in dancing," Alice said, but was dreadfully puzzled by the whole thing and longed to change the subject. Go on with the next verse, the Griffin repeated impatiently. It begins, I passed by his garden. Alice did not dare to disobey, though she felt sure it would all come out wrong, and she went on in a trembling voice. I passed by his garden and marked with one eye how the owl and the panther were sharing a pie. Man. Anyone who, okay. Sorry now. I'm going to wrap this up shortly as well, but I'm going to have to bring this up again because how pertinent is this again? The very opening line of that link, here we go. I just posted the solution to Sergeant Pepper's. Yeah. Yeah, he talks about one eye. You have to go through this yourself, but he basically says this hole in the Raven connects to the Gleason's map, but the dodo is the next step along. Edgar Allan Poe is an introduction to Beatles and Alice in Wonderland. But one of in the opening line, the opening salve, I guess, of this Jarface and his solution to Sergeant Pepper's, he talks about a line from a story from Edgar Allan Poe. So it says Edgar Allan Poe's Goldbug. Anyone remember Dallas Goldbug? Yeah, here we go. All connects in. Is a story about a golden beetle, yeah, and a cryptic message containing veiled instructions for how to find a cache of Captain Kidd's buried pirate treasure. To it, a good glass in the bishop's castle in the Devil's Seat, main branch, 7th limb, east side. Shoot from the left eye of the death's head. A beeline from the tree through the shot 50 feet out. So again, just to mention the dead eye here, and it goes into greater detail actually down here. Yeah, I can't find it, but I just wanted to point out that is a good picture now. Look, you can see of look at the hand, the hidden hand, Felix. And if you go to the dodo on page 3, there you see a hand, or chapter 3, there you see a hand, and for all the world, a face that looks uncannily. The face definitely has a handlebar mustache, but it looks like Paul McCartney. But anyway, I just brought that up because we're talking about the eye. And this, yeah, here we go. So he goes along then, he says, using the look as the fixed location of the death's head, drop me a line through the left eye, starting point of view. So again, it's following the treasure map based on the clues given, and the clues pop up everywhere. Again, you know, it's not just one clue here. Oh God! Look at this guy. I'm just saying he mentions 42 years. This well-known trick has been misinterpreted by the Paul is Dead crowd for 42 years. Isn't it funny how he mentions this? I reckon he has to be an insider to have come up with all of the different connections. He solved the Sergeant Pepper. Yeah, I don't think the overall puzzle is solved. It's interesting there that he mentions 42 years specifically. I think they wait for 42 years after Sergeant Pepper's and then they release this. So again, excellent. Love it. Let me go back to the lobster quadrille. Oh yeah, so one eye. I passed by his garden and marked with one eye how the owl and the panther were sharing a pie. What is the use of repeating all that stuff? The mock turtle interrupted. If you don't explain it as you go on, it's by far the most confusing thing I've ever heard. Yes, I think you better leave off, said the Griffin, and Alice was only too glad to do so. Shall we try another figure of the lobster quadrille? The Griffin went on. Or would you like the mock turtle to sing you a song? Oh, a song, please, if the mock turtle would be so kind, Alice replied, so eagerly that the Griffin said in a rather offended tone, that should be, no accounting for tastes. Sing her turtle soup, will you, old fellow? The mock turtle sighed deeply and began in a voice sometimes choked with sobs to sing this. Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stop? Soup of the evening, beautiful. Oh, I thought it was going to be beautiful. Stop there. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful. Okay, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Who cares for fish, game, or any other dish? Who would not give all for? Oh, who would not give all else for two? Pennyworth only a beautiful soup. Pennyworth only a beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup. Yeah, I'll just give me a couple seconds there. I'll just fancy soup for some reason, so I'm just going to get a bite to eat. No, I'm grand. Okay. Sorry for that, if that was painful on the ears. Okay, chorus again, cried the griffin, and the mock turtle. This sounds all very weird, doesn't it? Chorus again, cried cried the griffin, and the mock turtle. It just began to repeat it when a cry of the trials beginning was heard in the distance. Come on, cried the griffin, and taking Alice by the hand, it hurried off without waiting for the end of the song. What trial is it? Alice panted as she ran, but the griffin only answered, come on, and ran the faster, while more and more faintly came, carried on the breeze that followed them, the melancholy words, soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup. Then we have to go through that one again. Again, lots of confusion. Confusion reigns, and it's mostly within the exchange of words and ideas, I think it's a mix of two realities. We went from real reality, whatever nature held for us back then, true nature, which it's still in existence beyond the North Center, to this divided, shattered reality, and all its confusion. So I think this is the general idea. Just generally go through the pictures as well, see if we notice anything. Yeah, so the griffin seems to be the body of an eagle, with the top half of an eagle, the body of a lion. The turtle here is almost just what I'm looking at. It's almost a pig-like head it has there, doesn't it? But yeah, still don't know what a griffin is. It's something I'm going to, and I know I'm going to find some interesting information on a griffin, and I know that there is information in there in my brain, but I can't bring it to bear for the minute. It's phoenix-like there, isn't it, in a sense? I have my different ideas on what the phoenix is about as well. Phoenix rising from the ashes. Maybe wait for the next time. Let me just find what a lobster quadrilla. I thought it was a dish or something. Lobster. Or maybe is there any sort of phonic equivalent? Another one referenced me to Alice in Wonderland, but okay, I get the answer. People, I get this here, so just no. Okay, I'm not getting the exact connection, but I'm sure it's pertinent. Is upon something or other. So not seeing too much more there. Really want to go over again, I'm sure. Again, this is the honest to these last two chapters. I remember being confused by them at the time as well. So I guess we have to know, sort of have some basis or backing in terms of what the griffin is all about. What was he said to represent? We have our own ideas about the turtle or the mock turtle as well. That may be. All right, so I have two chapters to go. I'm not going to read any more tonight. Just see the next chapter. Who stole the tart? So we're getting to we're getting to the heart of matter. Heart of matters. Yeah, that's cool. So what I'll do is I'll just briefly go back to my chat and pretty much say my goodbyes, good nights, really. Okay. Oh, I know, Felix. That was another. I definitely opened up one of the hangouts with Strawberry Fields Forever, and the words are more pertinent than ever. No one is in my tree. You know, I make sense. It never makes sense to me. It never made sense to me, Felix. But you know, nobody is in my tree. You know, it must be high or low. Or, well, of course, if we entertain the idea of giant trees, then we have high trees or low trees. You know, but yeah, we live in strawberry fields where nothing is real for sure. So that's cool. Yeah, I think it's quite enough in the chat. So that's cool by me as well. A lot of interesting thoughts come forth for me tonight. So on that note, I'll sing as softly as I can because it's pretty late there. I'll sing you out and say thank you for tuning in. And maybe I'll come along tomorrow as well and finish off the last 2 chapters. I know there's 12 chapters there, so maybe Alice Through the Looking Glass represents the 13th chapter as a whole. I don't know. So, once again, thank you very much for joining in. And until next time. Oh, well. Oh, of all the money that e'er I spent it in good company. And all the harm that e'er I did, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass, good night, and joy be with you all. If I had money enough to spend, and leisure to sit a while, there is a fair maiden tale now that sorely has my heart beguiled. Her rosy cheeks, her ruby lips, my own, she has my heart enthralled. So fill to me the parting glass, good night, and joy be with you all. Oh, all the comrades that e'er I had, they are sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call, good night and joy be with you all. I'll gently rise and I'll softly call, good night and joy be with you. Oh, well, friends. Love you, Steve.